Like old books and there was cobwebs everywhere.
That'd actually be cooler.
It'd be cooler, right?
Yeah, he had a castle.
Yeah,
like a Highland castle.
Like
Maybe he lived in Scotland because he's a Highlander. Heather, please. And then we started looking up flubber porn. Do you remember we did this?
I thought this was all a dream.
No, it wasn't. You really fucking burnt the popcorn on this one. It's stinking. I can smell the popcorn for here. Hi there, everyone, and welcome to the Sorry I Don't podcast with your hosts, Swanny,
Abby, and Claude.
Just because I almost forgot their names there. Haha, no, terrible joke. Whose phone's fucking on? And there's the opening. That's the opening. I'm going to lose my mind. Okay, folks. No, that's fine. So, welcome back to the Sorry I Don't podcast, where we look at Claude. Looks like she's having a fucking meltdown. This film that we're going to talk about today.
In the fucking air in this studio.
There's something in the air tonight. It's not a song. I combined like 3 different songs in my own version, and Claude's now crying. Yeah, so Highlander really affected us. So yes, okay. Welcome back to the Sorry I Don't podcast with your hosts Swanny, Abby and Claude. Today we are going to be discussing the film Highlander. So, film Highlander came out in 1986, directed by Russell Mulcahy, I think is how it's pronounced. He's Australian, or Mulcahy, whatever. I'll say it 40 different times during the podcast. Interestingly, this guy also directed, did anyone ever watch that Resident Evil film series?
I heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Right, so he directed the third one of that, which is like a post-apocalyptic film. It's kind of good. And he also directed 40 episodes of the new series of Teen Wolf.
That's so
the 2011 one.
Random.
So he's he's directed the most episodes of that show of any director.
That's kind of wild, but also
makes a lot of sense.
Tracks.
Yeah, it sort of tracks, right? Because they're both kind of hokey, high concept, but there's also just dig into it a bit and just fucking go with the flow kind of vibes. So, Sorry I Don't podcast, where we discuss films that are ridiculous, maybe amazing, or maybe they're shite. Highlander definitely fits right in the middle of that. So, before we start, did you guys have any knowledge of Highlander before watching it?
The knowledge I had of Highlander is my dad has seen it, and he said that it was dated the moment it came out. That was his take on it. But he quite likes it. He enjoys Highlander. It's his kind of vibe of film. Just kind of like, he's a fan of like B movies and like kind of just shite films like that. So yeah, that's kind of all I knew about Highlander, was that it was dated in the 80s somehow.
And did you know? What about?
And I knew obviously that like there's nothing about it that's really Scottish, except for Sean Connery, who's no Scottish in it for some reason.
We'll get to that. Abby, what about you? What did you know about Highlander before it?
Somebody had a DVD copy of it and they left it in my flat like 5 years ago.
Might have been me.
I think it was our friend Johnny Wilson.
That was my DVD.
Well, ironically, I think that's in our flat now.
Well, it's one we watched it on, yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
So,
well, I had that kicking about for ages. I didn't feel the desire to watch it. I never did watch it. And then one day somebody said, it's like a time traveling Scottish guy. And I was like, ooh, time travel? Because I thought it was just like a Highlander, like some kind of drama about the Highlands. And then I heard that it was in the 80s also. And I thought, class, I love this.
And then Queen.
Oh, and Queen. I love Queen. Because I really like the song Who Wants to Live Forever, which is featured very heavily in this film.
Oh, yeah. I think it was written for this film. So for those that don't know, Queen does most of the soundtrack for this film.
This was such an easy sell to me as soon as I actually learned about it, because they're like, oh yeah, it's set in the Highlands of Scotland, tragic love story interwoven throughout, time traveling, like tortured guy, 80s nonsense, and Queen inexplicably wrote the soundtrack, and it's that whole album. And I was like, what? That sounds insane.
didn't
I
just-
love
It
this.
sounds like it should be absolutely amazing, and it's fucking shite.
Yeah, but it's
like
it's
it.
kind of deliberately shite though, right?
It's not.
It's clearly hokey. It's
Yeah, it's
I
clearly.
think it's
hokey.
meant to be hokey. I think it's
Yeah.
meant to be like shite, but I think, you know, they probably wanted folk to like enjoy it, and I didn't.
I enjoyed it.
Podcast over then. I kind of done the review already.
I enjoyed
Fuck
it.
me.
I really enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it because it was shite,
Yeah.
and I don't think
Yeah,
it was
it's-
meant. I don't think it was meant to be shite, and
Yeah.
it was. Like, I know it was meant to be hokey, but you can be hokey and shite without being shite, and it was shite, like the room level shite.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
production
but-
is fucking shocking, and given that we've watched a couple of 80s films in the past, like this series and the last, like the production value compared to those films is like so dire, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah. The budget is pretty small for how big a scope the film is. Like, it's a $19 million budget in the 80s. Like, for
it's kinda
such a
like-
big film.
Everything about the film makes sense except for the fact that Queen wrote the soundtrack.
Well,
You're like, what did this guy know about Queen?
Well,
How did he have one then?
Well, this
Like-
what happened. This is what happened. So Queen basically, they were asked to do one song for it. They liked the concept, so they did one song for it. But then when they saw the film, they were so inspired by what they watched that they wrote that one, "Who Wants to Live Forever," in the taxi ride home from the theatre. That's how inspired they were by the film.
I just don't believe it.
I do.
I don't. I mean, I'm sure that is the story that's being spun, but I think that they were definitely being held hostage
I think it's
to
because
write a clash
I
tune
think-
for this fucking shocking film.
But I think when you look at it though,
There is extortion.
I don't think it's extortion. I think it's just so out there and so clearly like a story that you tell as like a kid. It's like a cartoon, and then to see that on screen actualized with live action in the 80s, you must be like, oh fuck, yeah, time traveling. Oh my god, the feelings, because the whole plot.
Isn't time travel? I was missold time travel.
There is time travel.
There's not.
There's not time travel. He's just immortal.
Sorry, yes, he goes through. Okay, that is actually fair. It's not time travel. It's just
He's
living.
usually immortal.
It's just living for a long time. Yeah, okay, fair. Maybe that is an issue. And also, I think selling those things so much can hype things up. See, I really like Highlander because I'd never seen it when I was younger. Surprisingly enough, everyone for years was always like, "Oh, you must like Highlander," because I like fancy things. I like silly, shitty movies. I like D&D stuff. I like Sean Connery, and I love Scottish stuff. But I hadn't seen it. So everyone's like, oh, you need to see it. It's just, you need to see it. I was like, okay, that sounds shite, but okay. And I watched it only like a few years ago, and I was just like, this is fucking ridiculous. Because I was really against it at first. And then it just kept, Queen songs were coming on. I was like, why are we listening to Queen? This is ridiculous. And it just reminded me of like being a kid watching all those little, just like watching cartoons, Sunday morning, Saturday morning cartoons that are just really pulpy and ridiculous. And I felt like the film went, let's take that energy, make it into a 2-hour film and just fucking go for it.
I think that if the protagonist had any rizz whatsoever, then that
Yes.
could have been sold
Yeah,
to me.
this was my
Yes.
thing. This was my thing. I found him so uninspiring.
He's
Yeah.
uninspiring. He's borderline creepy.
Yep.
He just reminds me of somebody who would have done a post-grad at my uni. Do you know what I mean? Like, he just feels like he's
Yes.
too old to be there, and he's got a weird attitude, and he can't speak to anyone, and he's really uppity, but at the same time he's got nothing about him, and he's just... I don't know where we get from here. How's he pulling all these beautiful women as well? I don't get
He
it.
delivers like jibes at people. Like when two wee boys are playing with like toy soldiers and they're like, haha, take that.
Yes.
Like that's the way he talks.
Oh.
He's like the way he says things that could be like a really cool line if someone like delivered them in a cool way. And it's like he's like scared they're actually going to hear him. He's like, you silly haggis.
Yeah, no, he does.
Because he knows he'll get leathered if someone actually hears him.
So maybe that's why I like it as well, because it just reminds me of making up stupid games with my pals.
You said it's like a cartoon a story a wee boy would tell. That's
100%,
exactly.
I agree. But then, like, if you're a wee boy making up a story, you want a cool main guy. You're like picking your favorite fucking
Fair.
like action man, Barbie, whatever. You're not picking your like most buoyed one and cutting about being like, I'm gonna shoot you.
No, you don't think you're doing that. But when anyone else would watch you play with those toys, they would hear
That's
you do
what
that
it
wee
would
silly
sound like.
voice. So I think in some meta way, they're actually going, yeah, this recapture, you like playing with wee toys as boys? Yeah, this is what that looked like. This is how fucking cringe that was. Let's cast our lead actor, Christopher Lambert. Almost called him Adam Lambert there. That would have been very
That
funny.
would have been
Yeah, Adam Lambert, inexplicably.
amazing.
No, Christopher Lambert, he is, right, so he was cast because the director saw his photograph and went, that is my leading man. He epitomes what I see with this character.
So he did a David Lynch like This Is the Girl,
Except
but it was Christopher Lambert.
and he didn't
Why?
and he didn't speak in English. He learned English six
6
weeks
weeks
before this film
I
started.
get that. I get casting an actor who doesn't speak English and then they learn English. Like that's so impressive. He managed to do that in
Yeah.
that time.
I'm
Well,
not
that's
giving
like-
him his
that-
flowers, man.
No, but like that's quite a massive like thing to get around.
Yeah.
They looked at him like on sight unseen, and basically went, I am willing to accept the fact that the man in question does not speak the language of the. Oh, that was the
There it
picture
is.
they saw.
Look at the actual fucking
Is
neck of this
that
guy.
that picture?
If that was a picture, I'd maybe get it.
Maybe
a
it
little
is.
bit.
It has to be.
But then why did they not make him look like that in the film?
He does look like that a couple points in the film.
He looks like he's wearing a school jumper in like most of it.
Yes. And he's also wearing that horrendous, that's him now. Oh, yeah. Aging.
Now he looks like the bottom of a foot. Sorry, man. That was a bit shocking.
Apologies to Christopher Lambert.
Apologies to Christopher
It looks like he'd be a good villain in like a Batman film now.
Yeah.
But he,
Looks like a guy.
yeah, he,
But like they,
Got thrown off by that comment.
what I was gonna say is they looked at the picture of Christopher Lambert and said, "Language is no object."
and I think the film communicates that language is no object. Well,
to
no,
have
I
this
say language
man.
is an object and we should treat it
Like-
delicately.
Every line that he says, it actually does remind me, ironically, of like when you would do your French speaking, and you would think inexplicably like. Maybe if I just kind of say this bit really fast and quietly, she won't notice that I've not said any words correctly.
Which makes sense given the context. So we shouldn't rag on it too much.
No,
but
it's
also,
a really impressive thing that
Yes,
you
it's
did.
impressive.
But why did they do it?
Yes. We shouldn't rag on
I
it too
also
much because he did the best he could with it, but also
But why?
it's very funny, the delivery.
I also just think as well, it's like from being Scottish and seeing so much media where Scottish people are never portrayed by Scottish people ever, and they've always got these shocking accents. I think that just kind of piles on. You know,
Totally. You
it's like, oh great, we're doing this again. Really, we've got Sean Connery who is Scottish, and he's playing a Spanish guy
Egyptian.
Well, yeah, there you
who
go.
also says he's Egyptian.
We'll get, yeah.
Like, why has this film not got any Scottish people in it? What is that about?
It does. It's got, what's his name?
The girls
Exactly.
are Scottish. The
What's
girls
his
are
name?
Scottish.
No, the guy from Game of Thrones. And
He's
the
in
girl-
it at the start for like 2 fucking minutes, man.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying there's a lot of extras, and like every other extra is a Scottish person, which is really weird. Because I was
In
watching.
Highlander, every other Scottish person is an extra.
yeah, but the main character.
That's a shocking sentence.
No, but the main character is a Highlander who's gone through time to New York. But even in New York, you inexplicably throughout the film, we'll hear people speaking in really broad Scottish accents at random points. I watched it again, and I was like, oh, there's a Scotsman, there's a Highlander, there's a Highlander. But yeah.
It's just not a very Scottish film for it being called Highlander.
I
And
get
being
you.
about Highlander.
I think Highlander. Look, it would definitely had other titles before that. I think it was given the title.
Other titles.
Yeah,
It's part of a franchise.
yeah, it started a franchise. So there's
Like,
a TV
there's
show.
like 18 of these films.
So there's a sequel that's even worse, and then there's a third one which rewrites the sequel because it's like, nah, fuck that second sequel. You should maybe watch that. And then there's a TV show which everyone really likes, and then there's sequel films to that which everyone fucking hates. So. And there's a video game, and there's loads of stuff. There's quite a lot of things. But it's all based on a script that a guy at uni... What are you showing?
Like the number of novels,
Comics.
comics, films,
Yeah, it's
TV
a-
series, animated series, video
Yeah.
games. There's like hundreds of this.
That is
They made this film and they went, there's a market for this.
There is.
the last of the McLeods.
yeah, right. So they really go
That's
into the
a
lore.
video game.
The novelization goes deep into the lore. It's ridiculous. But anyway...
Plot.
The last thing I'll say about the setting up of it, it was based on this. It was talking about all this. It makes sense that the script was written for a guy's like fucking dissertation at uni. He wrote it as a dissertation project, which makes a lot of fucking sense.
It does make a lot of
But
sense.
he wrote it as actually a darker film. It was like very dark and like more terrible tragedies happened to Connor, and it was all. He was very sad with it. He wasn't this fucking weirdly jovial psychopath that Christopher Lambert brings to the film. So. And I think this is what makes a lot of sense for like these tonal shifts that we're going to talk about in this plot, is because it's really sad, serious, and then Queen song, sparkle. It's like, whoa, we just watched someone get murdered brutally in their family. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think that makes sense when you realise it comes from this. But the guy got paid like $200,000 to give over the rights to the script to a studio, and he's just like, yeah, love that people like this, because I thought it was just a fun idea about these immortal warriors fighting throughout time. That was a cool idea for a film series. And here we are. So, the actual plot itself. It opens with a monologue, which basically, and I will quickly, hurriedly, very prepared, get it out. Very prepared.
That's what she said.
I think this is what, because also this is another film where we really need to start watching the films as soon as we hang out, because like any later than like 9 o'clock at night I will be asleep.
Yeah, this is something we discussed.
But I think this is what my teletext what the fuck
yeah, so
refers to.
It refers to this opening where it comes with big red lighting, and we get Sean Connery speaking. Well, I think so. It says, from the dawn of time we came, moving silently down through the centuries. Claude dropped in notes. Living many secret lives, struggling to reach the time of the gathering. Underline that. We'll put a little asterisk, a little footnote. Look that up later. When the few who remain will battle to the last. Oh, well, we don't need to do that. It actually explains what the gathering is. Great. No one has ever known we were among you until now. So this is read out by Sean Connery, but literally my first note was, is that fucking Sean Connery or his stunt double doing that? Because it doesn't... Like, Sean Connery's got a very distinctive voice, and it is him, but he's not doing as big a bullshit Sean Connery voice as you would think. So that's my first note, and as soon as that's done, you're like, oh, spooky, oh, and this is where the immediate tone shift begins. You go, oh, spooky atmosphere, oh, dark, mythological vibes, and then Queen comes screaming in with Princes of the Universe, which again was written for this film. I think that was the song that they were commissioned to write initially. And then we get essentially, opening screed.
That was just so overstimulating though as a beginning, because I already had my reservations about this film, and then I was like actually felt the couch like growing around me because I was trying to get away from how overstimulating Queen was on fucking 70 volume. It was shocking. Yeah,
it was a lot. I tried to put it down a bit, but I was also like, this feels so stupid. So that happens, and then we immediately cut to a wrestling match in Madison Square Gardens, New York City. This is a film that has extras doing the fucking most. We've got guys in the crowd going wild. They're literally like smashing each other in the crowd, and then this guy gets his face smashed against the side of the ring, and they just keep going. And then we get introduced to Christopher Lambert walking in the most disgusting Inspector Gadget coat I've ever seen someone wear in a film. It's like a big fucking one of those, the big Inspector Gadget trench coats? Yeah. Aye.
Like why is he wearing that? Someone.
Aye, he looks like the serial flasher. There he is. Lock him up.
You wouldn't be surprised if he did either.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
He's got that vibe.
And he goes,
He laughs like Tommy Wiseau.
Well, this is the thing I was going to bring up, and it came up, and now it's come up. He delivers lines like Tommy Wiseau, and see, when you said it to me, I went, that makes so much sense. He so does.
He laughs like he had to learn how to laugh in English. Like he laughs as if he's only been doing that for 6 weeks.
No, he didn't speak any language actually prior to filming. He was... I'm not even going to keep going with that. But yes, his laugh is shocking. So as soon as he's introduced in the middle of this wrestling ring, clearly watching the spectacle of fighting, we get a flashback to a great battle in Glencoe in the year, what year was it again, Abigail?
1500.
1518, I think it is.
Yeah, I've just written 1500s.
Yeah, 1518 we'll say, until I get told later. My notes tell me somewhere. And we get to this great battle filmed in Glencoe, which we've been to. Beautiful part of Scotland. If you've not been, definitely go there. And we meet our troubled hero for our first duel. Sorry. We meet our troubled hero. We get introduced to him. And then we see him winning a battle. they win a great battle in Glencoe. Yeah, and then it immediately cuts back to Madison Square Garden. The fight is over. Christopher Lambert goes into a car park where, for some reason, they decided, do you know where your first duel should be for this film, Highlander, about dueling warriors? Nah, fuck it. It's not going to be in the flashback sequence in the historical time of warring Scotland and Glencoe. Nah. It's going to be in a car park in Madison Square Garden. So this is where we have, I don't know, this old guy who looks like a butler just pulls out this fucking stupid looking samurai sword, and his first move to instigate this fight against Christopher Lambert, these two are both immortals, going to clash, is he throws his big coat at him. And that's the opening move. Hit the mic.
I think this is maybe where I put, this is going to be bad.
Well, there's a reason. I was like, as soon as we get to the car park sequence, it's like, I looked at your faces, I was like, this is why I wanted to show you this, because this fucking opening fight is so ridiculous.
This guy, again though, like, they have these immortal warriors, right? That's their thing, and they all just look so fucking phobic and shite and, like, weird, and they either look really fucking square, or just way too much like Mr Krabs, who just looks absolutely insane. He looks like he was pulled right out of, like, a Pokemon game, you know, like...
Who's Mr Krabs?
So the main villain that we've not introduced yet is Clancy Brown plays him, and he voices Mr Krabs in SpongeBob.
I was sleeping through that revelation.
You weren't. I remember you laughing. But yes, so we have these ridiculous swords, like, and I think, like, they definitely all look so ridiculous, but in my mind I'm kind of like, well, if you had been living forever, then you would look pretty fucking shocking.
They don't even look shocking, they just look nothing. They look so
like
square.
Nondescript.
Yeah, okay.
Like, this guy, he's like, very shortly, you're going to see him doing backflips to escape from Highlander in this car park. But he's just like a middle-aged guy. And I'm like, if you were going to live forever... If I was going to choose one, I'd definitely go down the Mr Krabs route of, like,
just go
wearing
for it.
skulls around my neck and fucking eyeliner and just going nuts all the time. I would not be cutting about with a fucking, like, vest on.
I know.
I have 500 years on Earth and you haven't developed a personality yet.
Aye, I know.
Nice one, mate.
Good one. Fuck that. No, but I think, look, clearly the guy that they cast in this role was just there for the laugh and just going for it. But it's so funny that they cast such an old guy and then have him... It's not like he does one backflip or a couple backflips to get away from fights. He does do that. He moves up and down the fucking car park, backflipping the whole time.
Can I ask a question?
I called him Wee Flips Away.
It is Wee Flips Away.
I've called him... I've put Michael Caine does a reverse Willy Wonka out the car park, and then in my very tired state, I've tried to see if Willy Wonka backwards would be funny. It's not. Really. I've actually written reverse Willy Wonka in my book. But what I was going to ask though, and I know there might be a long-winded answer to this, in which case I don't actually care enough to hear it, but why are some of the immortals old men and he's quite a young guy? So, like, how does the age stopping work?
I don't know. I'm sure they go into it somewhere. I think it's kind of like, maybe there's I think it's you're immortal and you don't know it, and I think you age up until the point that you would first die, and then you learn that you're immortal and you stay that age forever.
Because he stops aging when he gets
kicked and he gets stabbed. Which we'll see in a moment's time. That's why I think, based on just looking at it,
that would make sense, but I bet that's not it.
I bet it's not. It'd be like that vampire.
That makes total fucking sense, and it would be actually cool, but I bet it's just like, nah, they just, I don't know.
They just stop aging.
He just fucking comes out the woman, he immediately looks like a 48-year-old fucking guy.
He goes, hey, you got my briefcase? I'm running late. Anyway, so we have this ridiculous fight scene in the car park. You know, we're very 80s, very, crazy camera, flips, music, and then, you know, at one point, like, you know, the swords are tapping against the wing mirror and then sparks are flying. It's all a lot. But our hero, Christopher Lambert, wins, cuts the guy's head off. So you've seen him getting stabbed and nothing's really happening. But as soon as you cut the head off, that's him dead, which will be a plot point that we will get to. So, cuts his head off, and immediately the cars start just fucking freaking out. Like, the cars themselves start going and just like spewing like fucking, like, I thought it was oil at first, and then it's turned like blue, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? And then the guy who's dead, his body goes all whizzy, terrible CGI for the 80s.
Was he?
Was he terrible?
Was he terrible? Aye. Does all that, and then we see those energies going into Christopher Lambert. Clearly something weird's going on. What do you guys know what's happening there?
He's like absorbing his immortal powers. Yeah. It's kind of like a game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, he's getting XP.
Yeah, he's leveling up. So this happens. He screams. Cars are going woo, crazy, blown up, and then we just get a fucking. This film has some of the hardest, weirdest cuts ever. It cuts to Scotland. 1536 is actually when it cuts to, and this we now see is a victory parade for the Clan MacLeod. Connor, our lead character, played by Christopher Lambert. The battle that we mentioned earlier, they have won and they are all celebrating. And this really is accents.com because Jesus Christ, no one has the same accent. There's like 3 Scottish guys there and the rest are just fucking trying their damnedest.
Also, Connor MacLeod is such a like, and I think
name.
I was like, I feel like everyone went to school with a Connor MacLeod, and then I was like, I did. I'm pretty sure there was a Connor MacLeod in my year group.
Shout out to his family. Not used one this season yet. You thought I forgot my patter, and I did. So, aye, we're in Scotland. How do you guys feel?
You could be a Connor MacLeod.
I could be, but die. Anyway.
I knew that would evoke a wee reacty.
A big reacty. Anyway, no. So, how do we feel about this tone shift from ridiculous car park fights in New York to Scotland winning a battle?
Compared to some of the other tone shifts in this film, it's faded into insignificance.
Oh, it's
for
so
me.
Fine.
Like compared to some of the other shit we get.
All right, well then we'll move on. So we meet the
By the way,
Kurgin.
before we move on,
Yeah.
just apologies to Connor MacLeod if you're listening to this.
To all Connor MacLeods.
From your school, from my school, from
Because there's always
Scotland.
I'm not casting any aspersions on the name Connor MacLeod. I just mean it's funny that the lead character of this film is called that because it just is such a common name.
It just doesn't scream warrior to me.
To any MacLeod out there, good luck. So, we meet the Kurgin. This is the villain, and he's suitably given big pulpy cartoon villain entrance. He is wearing like black armor with a big fucking skull-shaped helmet. Looks like someone out of The Witcher. I'm pretty sure that's where they got their inspiration for that character in season 1. Well, not fully, but maybe the design of the thing. Don't fucking at me, any Witcher fans. We meet the Kurgin, bathed in lightning and sound effects, crashing around as he stands there looking out, breathing heavily over the Scottish landscape. So, I immediately really like this because heavy Scottish vibes. I'm like, cool. And then pipes start playing because there's a battle. And it's always cool when you actually see bagpipes getting used in battle because you forget they are war pipes. Because I used to play bagpipes. You know this?
No, I don't.
You don't know this?
What?
I used to play in a pipe band. With my dad. Me and my dad were in a pipe
The
band.
bagpipes.
You played the bagpipes?
Last year we went to the Fringe and we were sitting like on like the Royal Mile having pizza and there's somebody playing bagpipes and Swanny starts going.
I knew it. You don't really forget.
Sorry,
it.
that was me for anyone just listening over audio. Pretending to very sincerely figure out what the holes I would be touching on the bagpipes were if I was
The
playing
notes on the chanter, I think you mean. Yes, I used to play them. My dad plays them. It's kind of like traditional.
That's really, really sweet, but just
Inexplicable, right?
I just can't imagine you dating that.
Well, we can flash some photos of me doing it. No. Anyway, but I quite like it because the war pipes are obviously designed to try and scare the shit out of people and to try and keep people marching time and also keep them, the idea is if you're still hearing the war pipes so you're fighting, you're doing good, which is quite good psychologically in a fight. So we see that. So it's pretty
Except
cool.
for when you stop hearing them.
Well, that's the point. That's the thing, isn't it?
Who's gonna murder the bagpipe band?
Well, there's different rules about if you can or can't do that and all this shit. But it's great. You get a cool shot of this bagpipe player just fucking going for it in the middle of the fucking war all around them. And then we have the Kurgin. I'm pretty sure the Kurgin kills the bagpipe player, to be honest. But
He would.
He would, wouldn't he?
It's not the worst thing he does.
It's not. We'll get to that. So we learn the Kurgin is seeking Connor. he keeps going, MacLeod, one called MacLeod. He is not to be touched. He is for me. So we see Connor going to this battlefield, and everyone that he's fighting is like, oh no, the Kurgin said. So then Connor's like, why will nobody fight me? Why won't anybody fight me? And
But how do they know his name's MacLeod? Is he wearing like a name badge?
because he's just won that battle. The MacLeod's won that big battle that we saw in the very
but
first
how
fight.
would
you're
know?
referring to them as the MacLeods, plural. So which one is
But
it?
also, like, this is not like,
not like you
oh,
can pass out
famous
photos of
MacLeod.
him.
Aye,
Well, MacLeod is quite a famous name.
but they wouldn't know what he looked like.
They might. He's the big warrior leading the MacLeods. Oh, him. He fights with a big two-hander.
In the fog of war, I'm meant to know who MacLeod is.
This is the Kurgan. That's what the... Well,
Well, the Kurgan knows.
oh,
They
you mean
are
the other
acting
people?
I mean, the other people.
They are acting like, you know, the way that he's,
Yeah.
they all immediately know exactly who he is when he's
I know.
wading through it.
Oh, it's Connor. Here comes Connor.
Well, let's
It's
just
as
look
if
at
Kim
it.
Kardashian's walked through, and
Yes.
everybody's gonna know who's Kim Kardashian.
Let's
is,
just play it like that. That is the in-world universe. That's the in-world... Sick reference. That is the in-world we will look at it. He's just a celebrity. The MacLeods, you win one battle in Scotland in 1536, you're a fucking celebrity for the rest of Scotland. That's the logic that they're going with. I guess that's what we're going to have to go with. But yeah, so no one touches Kim Kardashian.
Are we gonna move on from that?
Do you want to talk about Kim Kardashian?
No. Do you want to talk about Kim Kardashian?
Did a podcast yesterday for my lovely friend David, who has the FT podcast. Hello, if you're listening.
Shout out to his family.
Had a really lovely time. It was a really lovely idea. It was meant to be first time Kardashians. I'd never seen a full episode of the Kardashians before.
Yep.
And David had messaged and said, all you have to do to prepare is watch the first episode of the new series Kardashians. Now, for those not in the know, there used to be Keeping Up with the Kardashians. That got cancelled. Then there was the Kardashians, which in my head is the new series,
Yep.
right? So I watched the episode. I make some notes. There's some really funny stuff there. I was really looking forward to recording the episode. We did the episode, we chat for about 20 minutes about Kardashians in general, and then David goes, okay, first episode of season 3 of the Kardashians, they're all on rollerblades. Abby, what did you think?
And Abby, what episode did you watch?
The first episode of season 1. And this is me admitting in public for the first time that even happened because it just didn't say anything.
Yeah, she was freaking out, sending us like clips afterwards of what it sounded like. And she was like, "Hey, this is them asking me. How does this come across?" And because we knew, it sounds fucking terrible. 'Cause she's like,
Per David's like, Abby, who are you immediately drawn to? And you can hear Abby trying to convince herself as she's saying it, where she's like, who's the most likely to be
Because
on
he
this
said
scene
who-
that they're talking
who
about that
in
I've
the-
never seen?
Who in the opening sequence are you immediately gravitating towards? And I thought, there's no way they did the opening sequence without Kim. So I'm like, Kim Kardashian?
It's more like, yeah, no, Kim.
And he's like, and who did you not like? And I'm like, trying to answer everything in a way that if I'm proven wrong, I can like justify it. So I was like, for a long time, I've not liked Kendall. And it's like, he was like, oh, Kendall wasn't in the opening. And I was like, yeah, shame, because that would have been my pick if she was. Like, oh man, it was a white knuckle ride. And David, I'm so sorry.
it gives me
But I think I got away with it. I thought you
till
could
now. Till now.
And I have actually watched the episode since then. It was some weird guilt of like wanting to have seen it now.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was fine.
Well, it's Kardashians, isn't it? But yes, the way that you were delivering all that and the way you described that sounds exactly like when you'd be at university, you've not read the book or you've not watched the film.
So just when you were at university.
I read quite a lot for the plays that I was in. No, but it's like you'd read the Wikipedia before you go in and just be like, I will say something
mean
that
Spark
sounds...
Notes?
Yeah, Spark Notes. That's too far. That's for the essay. No, you'd read it, you'd make a claim and then just very much say it in a way that if you were wrong, you'd be like, of course, but that's what I meant because... And you just had to be wheeling and
Start
dealing.
discussion. You spark off a discussion and you let other people discuss.
And because you've read little vague bits, you're like, and you can read and hear what other people say. Yeah. That's the most important bit. You got to hear what they're saying. They've done the work. So you go, okay,
just
what's
put,
that?
Like a certain tone on words, and then people will just lap it up anyway. Like I'm gonna be like, Highlander is definitely a film.
Yeah, it's definitely filmic.
You know, something to someone.
Like how the Kardashians are apparently, according to me, pop culture.
The Kardashians definitely were pop culture. End of story.
Brilliant. Can't wait for that.
I now need to tell David about this before we release this podcast episode. So
I'm going to release it this Friday. I'm going to make it the opener.
This is live streaming right now. He's on the phone. He's fucking crying, man. He's despondent.
Please have me back, David. It was really fun.
So, after now that little interlude,
we would watch it, David. We'd watch it.
Well, we would watch it. We'd care. No.
Back to Highlander.
Back to Highlander. So, we've had this big duel set up. Everyone's avoiding Connor, the Kardashian of his time, and he's like, "Why will nobody fight me?" And then Kurgin immediately is like, "MacLeod." So we're like, "Oh, here we go, big duel. Let's go for it." We've had a shitty duel in the car park. Now it's time for a big, cool Highlander duel. Yes, and immediately the Kurgin just stabs him in the gut. Yep, done.
It's over.
And then he goes to decapitate him. So this is important. Connor's like, falls over. Kurgin goes to decapitate him, and he announces the famous line, "There can be only one." But then he gets stopped. Kurgin gets knocked off by some of MacLeod's guys, and James Cosmo, that's the actor's name. James Cosmo from Game of Thrones, as a younger man, grabs him, and they drag Connor away, presumably to treat his wounds for his death. So, pretty cool sequence. I love the smoke. I love the fighting. Would have wished we had a bit of a longer fight there with the Kurgin, but fine. I do enjoy, once again, the boying of our main character. This happens to Connor a lot. He goes to do something very cool and then gets like fucking stabbed or punched or whatever. So, cuts to the car. Fucking wedges by the Kurgin. Don't touch him. His pants are mine.
Can I share my so this is a personal phenomenon that I experience, and I want to share this in case anyone is afflicted with the same problem.
Sure.
I don't want to be like this, but this is the reality for me. So I call this the horses and swords theory. And this doesn't apply to all fight scenes, because there are some fight scenes like Point Break and like some maybe World War I, II. But to be honest, basically any kind of epic battle scene. Upon seeing any kind of battle scene, whether that's like historical or in fantasy, I'm instantly so profoundly bored that it renders me incapacitated to understand what's happening in this scene or the scenes that come after it, or connect it to anything that I've seen in the film before. Even a very simple film like Highlander, I had to watch this 3 times, and after the second time I watched it, I was like, I'm going to read the Wikipedia article this time to find out what happens in this film before I see it, because for some reason it just was not, I couldn't process it in my brain, and I entered a fugue state of confusion that makes me unable to process information. I felt like the film was just 90 minutes of someone verbally describing the rules of a board game I've never played. Who is that man? Who's that other man? Why should I give a fuck?
Yeah.
And I don't want to be like this.
No, so
I don't understand what it is, but I see it and I just switch off.
So this obviously,
he would not like Game of Thrones.
Well,
probably not.
Well, this is.
But this is my problem with Lord of the Rings. This is my problem with.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
I actually don't watch a lot of films like this.
Well, that's what I was going to say. To me, deeply, she sent this in the group chat like, haha, look at this note I came up with, and I just like sad reacted to it. I was like, that is, for me, as a lover of fantasy and medieval stuff and warfare stuff, it really makes me sad to hear that. But I get it. And also, it then made me happy, because I was like, well, if that's how she feels, how the fuck, that just proves to me that Lord of the Rings is actually kind of decent, because she at least she stayed awake for that and didn't lose her mind to that.
I liked Frodo and the Bilbo.
Let's not do this.
Frodo.
Sam.
This is like the
guy from the Goonies.
Yes,
Sam.
Sam.
Gollum. All the Gollum stuff was really interesting. Redemption arc, all that shit. Sorry, we're not getting to Lord of the Rings. What I mean is, that shows you how much I hate the fight scenes, because I like the rest of those films. I just don't like battle scenes and epic battle scenes.
You
is so
calling him the
important to me.
Bilbo is so funny.
Yeah.
You are a fucking dildo, man. It's like the other day, we were trying to describe to Swanny. We were like, talking about Line of Duty. No, we weren't. We were talking about Call of Duty.
No, Line of Duty.
Were we talking about
And
Line
she
of
called
Duty?
it Call of Duty.
Oh yeah, she was like, oh yeah. We were talking about Mark Comston. She was like, ah, he's in Call of Duty. I was like, you're a clown. Shut up.
She's a clown.
Stop talking. The Bilbo.
But yes,
Call of Duty.
No, I
Shut up.
respect given that feeling that you've come to understand. I respect the fact that you did at least enjoy Lord of the Rings somewhat, and that's all I need to know.
I'm saying
That's
it's this specific thing.
all I'm going to say is if I ever do
Visually
anything,
unstimulating.
if I ever do anything that's fantasy related and ever do a big battle sequence, and you don't, and you get like that, I will cry and destroy the whole project. So. Work on that, please. But yes, jokes aside, we cut to the fucking wacky races for some reason. We're back in the car park, modern day New York, in Highlander. Remember, that's the film we're talking about, folks. In Highlander. And the reason I call it the wacky races is Connor needs to get away from that now crime scene, and we have this really good shot, but it's mental, of the camera in the back of the car, this convertible that he steals, and he drives to the car park, and it's kind of half sped up, and he's zooming about.
Oh, the camera work in this bit's so weird. They have like POV shots from inside the car, and it feels like you're playing Crazy Taxi.
Yeah.
And
Beep,
like,
beep.
It's just, it's fucking bizarre.
It's bizarre.
You can catch the pigeon, man.
Catch the pigeon.
How many laps can you do? So he comes into the car park, and immediately like 40 fucking police cars, NYPD cars show up, and Connor is held at gunpoint in the car. And yeah, he's arrested, not by the NYPD, I should correct that. He's arrested by the NY Too Much Man, because these guys...
he's arrested by the NY Diddies, man.
they've got no control over anything. All of them show
They're all
up.
just like grabbing him and just immediately like kick the shit out.
Yeah, they're just screaming
And they're
at
like,
him.
watch him, spread him.
Don't move, pal. Don't even breathe. And it's like Matt, and then he's like, don't be a
Assaulting
hero.
him, because apparently that's fine.
And he's like, watch it, freak. And then, give me it. He's like, literally, the police officer's wrestling with his arm, going, give me it. You've got a gun at him. If he's not giving you the arm and fighting you, shoot him. It's all this weird posturing, like, we're not going to shoot you. And it's like, man, you're the NYPD. You definitely shoot people for less reasons than this. Shoot them or shut the fuck up. And they just wrestle with the guy. But yeah, we were, again, this is the extras being too much. We were in fucking stitches watching these guys. And after he's arrested, we get another fucking cut, another flashback. I feel like I'm getting thrown about here. To the Highlands, once again, for Connor's funeral / treatment. Not funeral, Highlands, like last rites / treatment for his wound. Connor giving his best, I've no had a wank in 4 weeks face. Like, failing the no fap challenge. Just like, his acting leaves a lot to be desired there. I've got a quote from you, Abby, here. Connor is Mr. Squirmy.
I was really drunk when I watched this.
Very, very drunk. Yeah.
Connor is Mr. Squirmy.
It was. He's just like, oh.
In my own notes, I refer to him as 5 feet sad eyes.
Well, that true. That true. That true. Well, that true. Well, that true. That too.
I want to cancel this one.
So.
The Highlander, the one where we get boys.
No. So. We then immediately after this, so like Connor's dying, they all think he's going to die. His wife, she's trying to like cry, she's crying at him, and then James Cosmo's grabbing her, going, "A Highlander's last sound on this earth shouldn't be a woman screaming." And you're like, all right, cool, we got that. We don't have the authentic accents. We don't have the authentic like wear. We don't have the authentic. Anything, but we do have the authentic sexism of a 16th century Scot. So
toxic masculinity.
Yep, that survives any adaptation of history. They're always like, "Aye, but can we just be mean to women for a bit and get away with it because it was history?" Aye, that's what they do. So we then have another fucking cut to modern day New York police investigation of the car park shenanigans. And once again,
The NY Diddies, man.
the NY Diddies are just fucking. But before they actually interrogate Connor, they're just. Are you talking about? Is that what you're going to say? Sorry.
Almost definitely not. Go on.
So, police investigating the car park shenanigans. Obviously, there's a dead man without a head. Cars have all spunked their brains out. The fucking place is on fire. We've just arrested some madman in a car. What's going on?
Aye, and they're like, oh yeah, this is just Jersey, man.
I feel like, one, it's not Jersey. Two, that's not how you treat a crime scene with a guy with his head cut off. But everyone is just too much. Guys are screaming, another guy's screaming back. Someone's contaminating the scene. They're like, move it the way. Someone trips over a body. Like the lead detective trips over the body, and then someone else is screaming about, oh, where's my cake? Where's my pie? It's like, man, can we all just, who's in charge of this operation? Yeah, right. Fucking like, half eating a pie going, can I get another one? It's like, man, you're not even cordoned off the body yet. Like, what are we talking about? But this is when we meet our female lead, Brenda. And she's, I don't even know what her job is. Is she a detective? I think she's a detective. Or is she just a journalist? No, she's a writer. She is a writer.
She's a forensic metallist.
Oh, and she wrote a book about metals.
She's something about metals. Like it's
a metallurgist.
A metallurgist.
Metallurgist. That's what she is, which is hilarious.
Which is the it girl job of the 80s.
Apparently so. So she shows up.
And she can just wander around the crime scene.
Oh, apparently.
Like, precinct and, like, that's fine.
Mate, the guy's sticking there in Jersey, so what the fuck? Dude, they can do anything.
Yeah, this is just Jersey, man.
No.
It's fucking Madison Square Garden.
Jersey's across the river, buddy. Jersey's across the river. Oh.
What is a metallurgist doing when there's not been a beheading with a katana?
A metallurgist,
right?
Is that like someone who
studies metals?
Detects metal?
Not detect. I think it's like the study of it's like the forensic study of metals, I believe. Even though that's not what it actually is, that's what she's doing in the context of this film.
But there's also a bit later on where they're in the police precinct and she's like, hey, to like her superior, she's like, the hairs on the McHanahan case like matched, and he was like, what did I tell you? And I'm like, why are you matching hairs? You're a metallurgist. Do you think they just found hairs on a bit of metal and they were like, we'll need the metal expert for this one?
Aye, they're making up jobs for her. They're giving her a full-time contract and she can't do anything. And
honestly,
like, do you want to just go and give hair to that guy?
Basically, a metallurgist, you'll be concerned with the extraction and processing of various metals and alloys.
Yeah. So basically, this police department is run like shit. So they clearly,
they've spunk their entire budget on a metallurgist.
Do you know what we need?
And then
not basic training, not a fucking map for anyone. We need a metallurgist on file just in case we get a sword we can't identify.
They thought she was a mentalist.
Because they can't spell either. Jesus Christ. Anyway, so she shows up and she's very much like, I need to look at this sword because I'm a metallurgist. and then
this is my favourite line in Highlander.
The best line. It's not, there can be only one. It's, I need to look at the sword because I'm a metallurgist. So
I've got metallurgists.
So we learn from her. We got
top metallurgists. That's going to be metallurgist.
Yeah. So this is where I've got written down 5 feet sad eyes. I think that's where you first said it. But we learned specifically from the sequence. Connor's been arrested, which we saw. We learned that she's into metals, and we learned that the guy that's been killed is called Aman Fazel, and we learned. Yeah. And then we learned, or Faisal, Aman Faisal, whatever the fuck.
We were all really drunk trying to watch this, and I remember trying to explain to you what just happened, because you were like, what just happened? I wasn't paying attention because I'm pissed, and I was like, the Da Roti, he just died, and you were like, that's not his name, and I'm like, it fucking is.
You called him Skip? Skip Wazoo or something?
Skip Wazoo. So you guys were drunk, but I was very stoned, so I was very into this vibe of just like, yeah, Aman Fazel. Ooh, I could write a name for that for my D&D. Ooh, but it's a ridiculous name for this ridiculous.
Try and claim at all that you were really into the film and really focused in on it at this point, because I think this is when you pause the film to dance about for an hour.
That's being into the film, man. But look, who's got more notes? Who has more notes? 20 fucking...
Swanny was singing Hakuna Matata for like 50 minutes.
Was that night?
Yes.
It means no worries. It does. But I am worried. So, continuing on. So we learn this, and we learn that 2 swords have been recovered. And she's interested in these fucking swords. So, okay. We then cut to interrogation in the police station. This film is so stupid. I love it. It's so stupid. Interrogated by the police in the police station. So Connor is grilled, and the police think that he has killed a man for sale. This fucking which he did clearly. Which they think he's killed him over an antique sword. He was like, yeah, you're an antique dealer, so you killed him to steal this ancient sword. And it's like, okay, but...
And I did it via beheading.
Yeah,
in a
and left the sword behind.
And left the sword behind. So I killed a guy in a really brutal fashion, and then I didn't even get the thing that I was apparently trying to get off him.
You're now covered in blood and probably like blunted a bit from chopping the guy's head off.
Yeah,
I want to get this antique so I can sell it on my shop, so I'm going to use it
to kill the guy that tried to steal it off, and I'm going to leave it there as I try to hightail it out of there. Okay.
Just fucked it.
But to be fair, his theory is not much better.
Well,
it's actually far worse.
What's his theory?
I'd written, I would love to hear your theory, wee man, but you make no sense, because we had to replay this so many times. But basically, his theory is that the guy attended the wrestling.
Yeah.
And then lost money, or the wrestling was bad and his favourite didn't win, so he walked himself down to the parking garage and decapitated himself with a katana.
Yeah, that's apparently, because he literally, because I've got it written here, I have a better theory, proceeds to give the worst theory ever. Like, what the fuck?
It's like it was written by a wee boy.
But I think the one thing I'll give in this defence, he clearly says this taking the piss.
It's difficult to tell.
It's difficult to tell because we had to replay it several times.
I think that's probably what the writing intended, but he just can't deliver anything.
He can't deliver.
I would love for him to deliver me bad news, because I'd think it was amazing news. I want him to tell me that someone close to me died, because I'd be like, oh yay.
Oh, sounds good, man. Proud of you. But no, yeah, we had the DVD I had also had no subtitles, so we had to keep replaying this. I felt so bad. Every time it played, I was like, oh, Christopher Lambert, I'm so sorry, but what the fuck are you saying, man?
And this is when also...
I didn't know what to tell to fucking speak up, man.
I think they tried. I think that's probably the 40th taking it. I think we got it somewhere. At one point, that sounded right. So... he's given this terrible fucking theory. The police aren't happy. And then he gets Connor gets immediately hate crimed by one of these officers who calls him like the F word for like someone who's gay. And it's like, all right, man, what the fuck? And then he's like, and Connor hits back with, oh, you'd know all about that. Wouldn't you? You like catching blowjobs in car parks? And then the police officers are like, oh yeah, that's why you went down there. There's a new theory. My theory is you want to suck his dick and then he tried, and you're like, man, what are we doing here?
Because I often go to the car park after the wrestling match to find a piece of ass.
That's it.
And I bring my katana with me
just in case. It gets rough out there. Gets rough out there in Jersey.
We're not in Jersey.
I know.
There's car parks in Jersey, apparently.
Partly. But basically, this happens.
Maybe they parked in Jersey and then walked to the WrestleMania.
Anyway, it's not, because literally it says in the film, in a Madison Square Garden car park, this fight happens. That's the only reason I know that. Anyway, this bit of hate speech back and forth and really terrible patter from everyone results in a brawl in the interrogation room as Connor starts lamping the fuck out of this homophobic detective, police officer, whoever the fuck he is, and inexplicably the entire police station just goes, woo! You've got all these
the police officers,
all these girls
who are being imprisoned.
Yeah, just these random women are there just going, yeah. What the fuck is going on, man? Again, like, we thought the extras in Dirty Dancing were a lot. The extras in this world are a fucking plot unto themselves. Like, what the anyway.
I love extras, man.
They're so good. Anyway, so this happens.
You could literally have a separate rogues gallery specifically for, like, obscene extras.
I just love that every single one of them is like, I'm going to stand out. This could be my big break. I'm going to be noticed.
Really go for it.
And they're just doing something insane in the background because of that.
It works, though.
It.
It's
I
so
want to
good.
catch my break here.
Yeah.
I'm really going to give it my all here.
It's like all those guys playing the police department are like, hey, do you want us all just be mental? Yeah, fuck it. Just say whatever comes naturally. Waka, waka, waka. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Anyway, at this point, we then meet the 80s version of the Kurgin driving to Queen's. Don't know the name of the song. I said I put a ... in there and I didn't fill it in. But we have a Queen song blaring.
Like you went driving to Queens. It's like driving to meet Queens in
Probably,
New York.
probably. So he's driving to Queens, and he's very much giving us that 80s leather vibe. He's got the skulls on him. He is looking like everyone else looks fucking lame and bobic as shit for like being immortal. It's like, I'll wear a trench coat, I'll wear a business suit forever. And then the Kurgan's like, nah man, fucking get this music on. Like he quotes so many songs from like bands at the time. He's clearly loving this era. He's got like, I think he's got a mohawk at this point or something like that. He's got big
Gotta
80s
give
hair.
it to him. He's meant to be the villain, but he is the coolest guy
He's
in the film.
the best character in the film.
100%.
The Kurgan, absolutely monstrous.
So I feel like he could possibly be our first actual villain that's in the rogues gallery.
Maybe.
There is one other person that I'm going to put up there when we
Okay.
get to it, but he is very clearly a rogue.
Yeah.
He's
I've got a pick as well.
Is it I don't know, we'll get to it.
We'll get to
Oh, excited. So he's got leathers, badass tattoos. He's fucking and this is where. Oh no, we immediately get to who I think my rogue might be. The Kurgan checks into this fucking mad hotel where this drunk old man is just sitting beside the owner's desk,
Yeah, he's beside
just
the clerk
rambling. Like we cut in like 20 seconds, I think, before the Kurgan comes in just to see this stupid conversation. Don't know what they're saying. And
The clerk at the hotel is kind of giving the Kurgan a wee bit of lip, and the Kurgan turns around and he's like, I know this is later, but this is the whole vibe, I think.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he's just like, don't fucking speak to me like that. And the Kurgan's terrifying, so he's just like, kind of like, okay, I'm sorry. And then there's just this wee guy who's just pissed and sitting like, kicking his legs about and just like,
it's almost like this guy sitting here, this old man drinking from his bottle. He just looks at any opportunity to piss off this like clerk, this owner, and then whenever something serious happens, as you see with that scene with the Kurgan, we only get this guy in 2 scenes. But when the Kurgan calls him out, everyone else shuts the fuck up, and anyone that says anything around the Kurgan that doesn't like, he'll kick their ass. But not this old guy.
Aye.
He just leaves this. And so every scene with this old guy and the clerk ends with the clerk going, shut the fuck up, just going off his head at him. Love it. That's
who
what.
is this guy though? Does he work there? Is he a guest? Does he just hang out
Yeah,
there?
and I don't think like right. He's not. I don't think he's related to the guy.
No.
Like, who is he? why
doesn't
have you
have a
not kicked him out? But if you're telling this guy to shut the fuck up this consistently, why is he still in your hotel when he's clearly not contributing anything? Like, no one likes him. We like him. He's one of my.
Everybody in Highlander who has a job has been misemployed. I don't think anybody knows what their actual job is.
Yeah, everyone's just going for it. So the Kurgan, however, has got a room at this hotel. And then we get this very ridiculous 80s sequence of the Kurgan building his sword. Like he's got 3 bits for his sword and he like kind of connects it together. And I'm just like, that's not how you make a sword. The idea with a sword is that it's 1 bit of metal. You know, that's pretty fucking
Lego,
strong.
eh?
Yeah, it's no Lego because you know what happens with Lego?
It breaks.
It breaks, yeah, right? Like the structural.
Integrity of the sword is.
And as people that clearly care about metallurgists, why the fuck would they do
He
this?
used to phone the metallurgist, mate.
Aye.
Clearly. But anyway, he builds his big, ridiculous sword, this huge, big, I think you would call it a Zweihander, a 2-hander sword. Very cool sword, but you wouldn't build up. It's not a power slap, it is a Zweihander.
Which is the way you said it.
Zweihander. Yeah, okay, give me a little power slap. That's a new thing that I invented. Oh. That should be the. That should be,
Highlander.
that should be the you know, you get the Netflix. Boom. That should be ours. It's like a wee fap. No, let's not do that. Anyway, wee faps is what they called me in Bible camp. They didn't. That would be shocking. You can keep this in if you want. So, Kurgan builds his sword and then he practices it in the hotel room in the most 80s way imaginable. He's just like fucking doing all his sword moves. And as any great 80s montage starts, You've got the genuine, okay, yep, he's doing stances, yep, he's doing swings, and then by the end of it, he's fucking rolling the sword about his arms, like some sort of baton. He's flipping about the place, and, and you're like, great, but also, why? Why? But then...
Is this when his prostitutes come in?
We got a knock at the door.
Mr. Kurgin, Mr. Krabs has got prostitutes for some reason.
Yeah.
These just lassies come in. So he's like living the best immortal life he can.
Yeah.
I don't really know why he wants to kill Connor McLeod. He's like got a good thing going.
Because they have to, because there can only be one.
Can only be one.
For how long?
For the prize.
This started, to our knowledge, in the 1500s. We're now in the
Before
1900s, right?
If you read the novel, the Kurgan gets trained by some Arabian prince or something like that.
Right. So why can there only be one? There clearly isn't.
So I think the
There can be
idea
loads,
is they
apparently.
do all this for
if they
ages.
just all chill out and just be nice to each other, they can all
But you
benefit
forget,
from this.
what the opening said. The gathering is coming up, and the gathering is when they all get forced together,
Except-
and they can feel who each other is.
Gathering is
just two.
hundreds of years away. Like, just...
No, the gathering. We see the climax of the
Yeah, but
gathering
there's
in this
just
film.
It'd be so much better if there was like 8 of them. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Look, I also definitely feel like
We're jumping to the end.
yes, we're jumping to the end. We'll get to that. But yeah, they are getting kind of drawn towards each other. That's what the gathering is. It's time to fight each other to see who'll win the prize. What's the prize? We don't know. We'll find out. Do you know what
Kurgan's just raging. He's been at a basement warehouse like club in Berlin, and he's just getting like magnetized out the door towards
I have
Madison
to go
Square
kill.
Garden because he's got to go see Connor McLeod, and he's like, "Nah, man,
Well, if we're
let me
not-
just enjoy my immortality and fuck about and have fun."
Oh, he is. And that's what he's in. So yeah, the prostitute shows up. She goes, "I'm Candy." And he just goes, "Of course you are." And you're like, all right, creepy Kurgan. Great. And that's not the creepiest the Kurgan will be.
Oh no.
So we can cut to Brenda, our favourite metallurgist in cinema, going about investigating fragments of the sword found at the car park, because that's what she does. So she's doing this, looking up stuff about these fragments. It's getting a bit weird. There's all weird information about it that we don't understand. But then she meets Connor in the brightest and quietest bar in all of New York. It's like overlit, no one's there, and Connor's just sitting there, and he is so fucking off-putting that she just leaves. But she hangs about and waits for him to leave as well, because she thinks he might be the man that they're looking for. You're an antiques dealer. I think that gets brought up, whatever. Basically what happens is she follows him into a dark car park, and suddenly he grabs her and she starts screaming like, "Oh my god!" And he's like, "Well, yeah, don't follow the creepy guy into a car park in 80s New York, infamously horrible place." But luckily for her, he's saving her because the Kurgan is here. The Kurgan is on the prowl for Connor with his big fucking blade out, and we have our first fight sequence between the actual fight sequence, because the first one wasn't. It was a shivving of our Highlander. We have Connor versus the Kurgan in this big, dodgy, dark car park. How do you guys feel about these ridiculous sword fights? I heard a lot of people saying they were great sword fights, and you know, I really like this film, but I don't think they're good sword fights.
Man, it just reminds me a little bit of when they started doing lightsaber fights with like a CGI Yoda in the prequels. Like, that's the vibe I get off of the sword
It
fights.
is. Oh no, you're actually so right. That's actually a really, really astute point, because Attack of the Clones has some of the worst choreography in any of the Star Wars films. Like, you seen that clip where it says,
Yep,
Yeah,
It's
you know what I
shocking,
mean?
and they're not actually doing
and they're not
anything.
actually doing anything, because it's one, a CGI little Yoda, and two, fucking 80-year-old Christopher Lee pretending he can move like a 30-year-old man again. Point I'm making is, that's a very, very good point. It's a very good comparison, because the best Highlander fight is about the same as the worst Star Wars fight. I think that's a good way of looking at this. But yes, it's a ridiculous fight sequence. And again, we get Connor getting buoyed. What happens is the Kurgan says something to him like, McLeod, time to die again, or something like that. And then he goes to reply, but the Kurgan just smacks his face into the wall. I generally like to think they were probably just filming, and then
They let Adam keep talking. Not
Adam, Christopher. Yeah, he kept fucking up the line delivery, so the Kurgan went, Clancy was like, "Fuck you, man, fucking get it right." And they went, "Yeah, let's do that." But ends with, "There can be only one." and then a police helicopter shows up, distracts them. Connor makes his escape from the Kurgin, and they flee from each other. So I know the Kurgin flees, actually, not Connor. But the Kurgin flees. Don't know why he flees. Don't know why he just cut his head off, become immortal, then kill the police force. Don't know. But the film needs to happen.
Quite chaotic, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. He's like, it needs to be perfect. I actually need to kill you perfectly. Oh, this isn't the vibe. There's too many people watching. Nervy. And so the Kurgin flees with his big stupid sword. And as soon as he flees, before we get a chance to take stock of that, whiplash, we're flashbacking again to once again to the Highlands.
Is this in the tavern?
Yes, this is the tavern sequence.
I've written essentially he's obviously not dead. And everyone's hanging out, probably mourning his death.
No, yeah.
I love how he just walks into the pub like, I'll have a pint of Tennent's and some KP nuts, please. And everyone's like, what the fuck, you've risen from the dead, mate?
Everyone's like, mate, your funeral's on Tuesday. What the fuck are you doing here, man?
Because he just walks in as if like,
that's fine.
Okay, I'm pretty sure this part, one of his friends said, don't do it, they're scared of you. But he walks in and everyone's looking at him like, man, I fucking saw you die. Oh no, witch. All this shit. And that is literally what happens.
I get it.
Yeah,
right?
This is very funny.
But like that lassie was like, oh, the love of my life. Oh, why have you died? And then
she's the most fucking unreal. She's in fact like a candidate for the Rogues Gallery.
That's actually a very
she's
good
like
point.
Screaming and getting like burn him, and like people are having to hold her back from him, the immortal, because she's going so fucking mental.
Yeah, they're all just freaking out because he's alive.
Like he's pals with Lucifer. She starts screaming about Lucifer. Yeah. I'm like, right?
I thought you were tight.
I thought you were alright. I thought you loved them. This is good.
Also, like, I understand it's a different time and people were scared of witches and blah, 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 but, like, if your whole deal was that you fight battles, right, why would you not want the leader of your fucking army to be immortal?
Right?
How fucking stupid are they?
Well, he doesn't know. He doesn't know he's immortal. So it's fair for them and their superstitions that they would maybe just think, oh, he's in league with the devil. Yeah.
I genuinely...
Agreed.
Given the tone of this film, it would have been amazing because they could have so got away with this if the one friend he's got that does actually kind of like stick by him, who's like doesn't think he's a witch. Mm-hmm. After she screams at him to like get out, he's a witch, burn him at the stake. It would be so funny if they left the pub and he turned to his friend and went, "Who wants to live forever?" Eh?
With friends like these, who wants to live forever? Eh? That was a missed opportunity, Abby. You're absolutely fucking right. But yeah, no. So they scream at him a bit, and they go, "Whoa, quiet down!" And he's like, "Oh, whoa!" And he sits down, and his friend, who you said, his nice pal, goes, "Hey man, listen, you gotta leave quietly." And Connor goes to reply, but he's immediately cut off. He goes, "I'm not going anywhere," and he's immediately cut off because a ball gets smashed on the back of his head. Once again, Connor gets a chance to do a cool line delivery, and the director was like, "Nah, fuck it, he's bottling it, bottle him." So they fucking smash him on the back of the head, and then we cut to New York again, inexplicably thrown into New York again, and we see his really cool apartment with his really cool antiques display, just showing that he's lived throughout the centuries.
100%.
However,
what about the bog and tank?
What about the bog and tank?
Somebody called PETA.
So, yeah, we have this immaculate, beautifully curated museum, essentially, of an apartment with the most disgusting fish tank. And when it came up, Claude and I just looked at each other like, oh my fucking God.
It doesn't... Nothing else in this flat. I get it if the whole thing was decrepit.
Yes.
Like he had like a dungeon and it was all these like old books and it was cobwebs everywhere.
That'd actually be cooler.
It'd be cooler, right?
Yeah, he had a castle. Like a Highland castle. Maybe he lived in Scotland because he's a Highlander. The movie could be really fun. And Highlands, but no, it's New York. Okay, cool.
He could have like a mini, like he's taking Scotland to New York because that's where he lives now.
Oh my God, he has a castle in the middle of New York. Well, budget.
So
the budget wouldn't allow for that. Right? Or a castle in Jersey. Fuck it. Give me a castle.
Because that would be inconspicuous. Where's the immortal, man? Probably that guy.
But no one knows
with a
about
castle
immortals
in
yet.
Fucking Madison Square Garden.
Man, it would have been so much
but
better.
But Kurgin would have been able to find him easier.
Oh, perfect.
Wonder where the Highlander is.
Where's the Highlander? He's in the only castle in the New York metropolitan area.
Archie from Ballamore's pink castle.
That's what I fucking
in
want.
Central Park.
But what I'm saying is, like, if it was all dusty and, like, had all this, like,
It
cool
makes
Scottish
sense.
memorabilia, and then they had this dirty tank, I'd be like, yeah, okay. Like, he's, like, maybe tried to make things normal, and now he's sick of living it. He's like,
Okay,
oh, forget it, it's
yeah,
all dusty. I'm
fucking-
like, fuck my fish,
aye.
you know? But everything else is didn't mean it like that. Everything else is beautiful, right? And then he's just got this manky fucking fish tank. And what I think is that somebody, I don't know, just had it, and they were like, yeah, let's use it. Should we wash it, though? Nah, should be alright.
He doesn't know how to wash fish tanks.
Also, this
He just thinks it's self-cleaning.
this
He doesn't
apartment.
understand glass. He's never learned. He says he's read a lot of books at a later point. As he fuck, he's read the fucking spark notes of every book he's ever read. Like me. Oh my god, am I the Highlander?
I genuinely just found this apartment and they were like, let's just rent it with all the stuff in it. Because I don't know whether you see this room in this scene, but like later on for sure, you're in his apartment and he shows her the kind of room with all like the really old stuff that kind of gives away the fact he's immortal because how he collected all this stuff for years. And she's like, oh my god, this stuff's worth like a fortune. Like, how did you get all this shit? But they're in a room which has a conversation pit. Like, you know those big, like, sunk into the ground, full, like, you know, like 20-person seater sofa?
Yeah.
Why would he have that in his gaff? In his secret lair? Why does he have a conversation pit? He has no friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real though, like, where's he getting all the money as well?
He's an antiques dealer.
He's an antiques dealer. That's where he gets his money. And they kind of go into how he's got some of his money
Again.
later.
Why is he so lame?
Yes, agreed.
I don't think antique stealing's lame, by the way.
No.
You know, but like, I think it's actually quite cool.
Yes, yeah. I think it's really cool. I think if one of our friends worked with antiques, that'd be very fucking cool.
Oh, that's not even what I meant. I wasn't even trying to save your feelings there. I genuinely think it's cool, right? But
I do as well.
it's just in the context of like, I'm a Scottish warrior and I'm immortal. What am I going to do in my life? Like, sell old shit that I've collected. Like, mate, you're immortal.
I think the idea with that is he does it though because they later explain that when one of his personas dies, the next one that he takes over inherits a mysterious amount of wealth from this person that's just died. So it's like he's passing on his own wealth, but then he also gives it to people that he's maybe like been friends with. He like sets them up for their life, and so I think the novelization goes into that more. We're getting bogged down in that though.
Yeah.
It's why do that? Why do that if it's not going to be in a cool fucking Scottish castle?
Aye, I know.
That's it. Literally. Why not do it if it's not going to be manky and cool instead of just, oh yeah, you got a museum.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh,
Anyway,
cool.
moving on.
Moving swiftly on. So yeah, we see the bogging fish tank, clean it, underlined. And then we get another flashback to the Highlands. And this time he is, what's the word for it? He is getting dragged about the town. He's getting, he's just been smashed in the head with the ball. He's now dragged it in front of everyone. His wife, who was like, oh my God, Connor, don't die, is like, die, burn forever, Satan.
Aye.
Even his pal is like fucking headbutting
His cousin,
him.
man. His cousin Angus.
His cousin
I keep
Angus
telling you, his cousin.
is headbutting the fuck out of him. And every time he tries to speak, they're just kicking the shit out of him. They throw him out of the town.
The one that's like still got his back, he's like, we'll exile him, and everyone kind of quells himself for a second, and then the wee wench is like, no, burn him, and you're like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, she like fully go like they're like, yeah, you know what? A banishment probably makes sense given they burn the witch. And it's like fucking hell,
The
man.
most.
It is a lot.
He had the audacity to die a hero's death in battle and then no die.
I don't even know how he gets away from them. I'm pretty sure, does he just run?
Just runs.
I think he just fucking breaks free and runs.
Yeah.
Just keeps running. Just keeps going straight. Just gotta get on that road and ride. So he does that. He rides off, and we then have him in the Highlands. 5 years have passed, and we meet his new girlfriend, Heather, who he calls Blossom. Oh, Blossom. And they're sitting like, do you like the way I kiss you, Blossom? And she's like, I love it. I love it, Connor. You're so amazing, Connor. And he's like, oh, only because you're so beautiful. All this shit. Blossom. 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 Yeah, does that.
I knew you
And
were
then
gonna do that.
to fucking...
Honestly, what a sin they put him through this, because people who've spoke English their whole lives can't master a Scottish accent.
I know.
Right?
They're like,
it's not an easy one. You know?
To be fair, I honestly think the dialogue coach, because he had a dialogue coach, I'm pretty sure she just went, okay, fuck, let's just get something that doesn't sound like where you're from.
Was it French?
They kind of address it because they're like, what sort of an accent is that? And he's like, I'm from a lot of places.
Yeah, which is fine, and I like that. I appreciate little things like that. But Jesus Christ, the props to that.
But when you were about 25 in the 1500s in Scotland, you still sounded like that. But
props to that accent coach for trying their best, but you really fucking burnt the popcorn on this one. It's stinking. I can smell the popcorn for here, and it smells like Christopher Lambert's voice. No offense. Shout out to his family, blah, blah, blah. However, this little blossoming relationship on the fields of Heather is very proud of that. Just came up with that straight from the old napper. We are immediately interrupted of them shagging again, because that's the implication. We're interrupted by horse hooves. A horse leaps across them, and we have, thank you, Abigail, we have Sean Connery finally showing up about halfway through this fucking film. Sean Connery shows up playing the Spanish man. Do you remember his name?
Ramirez.
No. Do you remember his full name?
No.
Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez. That's how he introduces himself. He's got a fucking huge hat on, a big feather out of it. He's wearing the reddest.
He's dressed like Captain Hook.
He's dressed like Captain Hook.
Do the immortals? They do. They have a kind of spidey sense that brings them to each other.
Yes, yeah.
Like, it must be difficult to find these folk.
Well,
Living in the arse end of nowhere.
And this is why when they find each other, they start talking so much about being immortals, because they're like,
Right.
listen, I know this. What do you know? Because at this point, Connor has no idea that he's immortal. He just knows that he's survived this thing.
He's just thought, man, see, getting away from that really toxic bunch of people has done wonders for my skin.
He's just like, yeah, you know, Clan MacLeod? They fucking suck. You know, hey, they love it when you win your battles, they get stabbed when you lose the battles. But see if you survive. Don't you fucking dare survive a battle, mate. Hey, you get stabbed and you survive? Nah. Devil worship. Fuck.
What if he wasn't immortal and he had just survived a stab wound?
Right? They just would kill him.
Aye.
That probably did happen, though.
Probably happened.
That has. I'm reading the book right now about witch trials, and shit like that happened all the time. I'm not going to go into it. Abby literally put her hand up there like, don't. I can see it all. Like, I can see. We both just had a little understanding of not today. So the book's called The Devils of Ludon. No, it is, but it's great. We'll go. So yes, Sean Connery shows up, and he's very much just like, it's time to meet your mentor. It's time to learn the plot. It's time for exposition. And that's exactly what he does. He starts explaining how all this works. He begins training Connor in sword fighting, and he goes, Connor, go stand on that mountain there. And Connor's like, okay, I will. And he goes up, and then he gets immediately struck by lightning. And you're like, whoa. And then Sean Connery's like, haha, it's called the quickening. Can you feel it? Can you feel it?
You fucking spit on me.
I say it, don't spray it. Aye, good one. Power slap me for using that shit joke. Hit me. No. That was recorded.
So,
Sean
Sorry,
Connery.
I just need a moment after I just said, hit me, and got it recorded. Oh, you try to.
The thing is, what really gets me about this is it almost feels as if this conversation, this exposition, is so vast in its entirety that it just spanning, like, you just keep cutting to them in different, like on the top of a cliff. Now they're in the sea. Now they're doing this. And he's still talking about being immortal and all these things that he needs both him and also us, the audience, to know.
No, so,
I understand as well, because he kind of goes on to explain, because obviously he's immortal as well, but he needs Connor because he doesn't want the Kurgin to become immortal. He's like, okay, you know, I could just kill you and then I'm one step closer to being immortal, but also...
Or to winning the prize.
Aye, but also, like, the Kurgin.
We should
Nobody
team up.
wants that.
We should team up, yeah.
Right? But, like... I just feel like this is just a recipe for disaster. Sure, they defeat the Kurgin, and then what?
Well, they have to fight each other, but it'd be a very honourable duel. It'd be very much there's going to be only one. That'd be amazing. It'd be beautiful. It'd be sad. It'd be tragic. It'd be like the last duel in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where he has to play his shadow self.
Too many Yu-Gi-Oh references
No,
from you today.
no, that's why I said it. He literally, Yugi plays Yami, and it's like, can you beat me, Yugi boy? He's like, I can, I learned everything.
Stop this. Stop this right
I
now.
loved Yu-Gi-Oh when I was younger.
Stop this.
Yugi boy?
That's what he calls him, Yugi boy.
but-
Nah, it's actually Pegasus that calls him Yugi boy.
Make a comment about Highlander.
Sorry, man. Forgot we were on a podcast. You're absolutely fucking right. Yes, you can.
Is the prize...
Actually, I'm thinking...
Is the prize a surprise? Like,
Yes.
do they know what the surprise is, or do they just know it's meant to be like, oh, the prize?
So...
Don't. If it's in the book, I don't care.
Jesus Christ, Abby. It probably is in the book, but that's not what I was going to say. I was going to say... I didn't think they did know what the prize was, but then Sean Connery's monologue at the end kind of makes it seem like he did know what the prize was. So I don't know.
Why did they never mention the prize?
I don't think he...
Probably because he never intended on anyone winning it but him.
I'm gonna-
It's like, that's irrelevant to you, pal.
I'm going to assume that he doesn't know
great.
it. I'm going to assume he
Whatever it
doesn't
is.
know it, but I'll explain why I think that. So, either way, we're getting all this. We learn what the quickening is. That basically means where you're able to get more power from doing things like standing in lightning, learning how to fight, killing another immortal, which we saw already happening. That's the quickening to get more power. And
Running on a beach with your pals.
running on it, yeah. But then at one point, he pisses off Sean Connery, and literally the way they cut this is so funny because it's almost like Sean Connery goes, they're on a boat in the middle of the loch, and then Sean Connery goes, fuck it, and he just smacks him with an oar. He falls in the water. He's like, I can't swim. He starts to sink, and then it's just like a hard cut to Sean Connery just fucking rowing away. And I was like, oh man, see if he just came up like a Queen song and end credits. It'd be so fucking funny.
She's like, you're immortal, mate. You're immortal.
Well, that's how he proves it. That's how he proves to Connor that he's immortal, because Connor can't swim, sinks to the bottom, but doesn't drown. Learns he's immortal. Learns about the gathering. What?
Does that happen?
Yeah. Very drunk.
Aye.
Sinks to the bottom. Learns about the gathering, which is about, as we said, all the immortals gathering together to fight, blah, blah, blah. But he learns it, and we get it clarified again. And then he also learns how to have terrible sword fights. And we go, he learned from the Spanish old guy that can't fight. That's how he I like to think they all learned how to fight from Ramirez, and that's why they all fight fucking terribly. So I just spat again, getting too excited. And also, of course, what training montage in the 80s wouldn't be complete without learning how to carry heavy things.
Yep. We've all got it.
So he's he's building like his new little castle or homestead for him and
He did
Heather.
build that himself.
Yes, yeah. So I think this is what it is. So he's carrying this stuff, and Ramirez is like, oh, you're not doing it well enough, boy. Oh, and then then Connor falls over and knocks a chicken out the way, spills some stuff. Then Heather absolutely pisses herself laughing at him. He gets absolutely buoyed by his wife, and all he can do is look at the camera and go, Heather, please.
In the most believable bit of dialogue he's done this entire film, he does
brilliant.
actually look devastated.
Heather, please.
And then-
It wasn't scripted. She was just taking the piss out of him for his shocking acting.
You're like, oh, Heather, please.
And then I don't know how we got into this. Maybe you remember.
I've got it right. Well, I don't remember it, but yeah.
But we started talking about the film Flubber. I don't know if any of you remember the film Flubber. It came from the 90s.
I'd forgotten about the fucking film Flubber. And then she starts going, Flubber, please. Because she wants to do Flubber on the podcast. And do you know when you get visceral reactions?
I didn't want to do Flubber in the podcast until I realised how much it winds you up.
Oh my God. Right, I think we've talked about this in the podcast before, that fucking witch's scalp. So Claude had a plant that looks like a witch's scalp, and she goes, "Oh, it's self-perpetuating. You just soak it in, you just soak it in the sink like a sponge." I was like a fucking sponge.
Just to explain, it's a plant that doesn't have any roots. It's not in soil. It just lives outside of soil and just
So
grows.
And it
that
looks like witch's hair.
it looks like a scalp. It's disgusting and horrible, and it actually developed that squeal that I just did there.
trademark squeal.
That squeal came from that, and then I haven't done that again so organically. Then when Claude went, "Do you remember the film Flubber?" And I was just like, I can't even do it. Say Flubber to me.
Do you remember the film Flubber?
There you go. That's fine. They're a bit scratchy, but we'll do it. Aye, I do remember Flubber. Thank you for reminding me of fucking Flubber. Oh,
Good
Flubber.
old Robin Williams and his wee pile of jelly.
It's so small. And then we started looking up Flubber porn. Do you remember we did this?
I thought this was all a dream.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. So we all
This
thought.
is why I think I'm mental.
So we're just laughing our heads off. They're drunk, I'm stoned, and we're like, oh, let's look up Flubber. And then, Flubber porn. I'm like, oh, this is going to be so shocking. It's going to be like a big green cock or something. Nah, it's worse than that. They literally just have a naked person with like a wee flubber just sitting on their ass. And they're like, and it's like a wee flubber. Like, why would you want wee flubber? This is horrid. Actually,
Flubber, please.
but yes, we definitely should do it on the podcast.
Spat all
Highlander.
over the mic.
But no, this was part of our Highlander experience, Abigail. Thank you very much.
Just because you were asleep, babe.
It's because you were dreaming of Flubber. Don't dream of Flubber. No one dreams
You
of
were dreaming of
Flubber.
flubber porn, apparently.
I was dreaming that you were talking about flubber porn. I was not dreaming about flubber porn. I want to make that
Very clear. Oh God, ghastly, disgusting. I actually look like I look like I've aged about 40 years. Yes, you were, Abigail. Don't lie. You didn't want big flubber either. You'd want wee flubber.
Oh, can you please
Get your wee flubber out.
Yeah,
back on the rails? I want to get this podcast back on the wagon.
You know all
please.
about wee flubbers, hey, Abby?
Get your fucking flubber out.
That's a funny reference.
To what?
Floppy dicks. We're obviously going to cut this bit out.
Anyway, moving
So-
on. Flubber, please.
Okay, so after we lost our minds to Flubber for a bit, and I think that's when I sang the Lion King song, calmed ourselves down a bit, go back to the film. Sean Connery is fucking great as a mentor because he's just very good at delivering insane exposition that's very complicated and very detailed in a very authoritative and natural way. Which is really funny to me because he's sitting explaining what the quickening is, what the gathering is, how immortals work, how all this stuff works, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, okay, he understands all this, and you look at the other kind of fantasy films that he's done in his career. But then you're like, okay, he understood this, but he didn't understand Lord of the Rings. Did you know this? Like, he was the first choice to play Gandalf, Sean Connery. And he was like, oh, I don't understand
You were
it.
still talking about
Me,
fucking
Flubber.
Christopher Lambert.
relatable queen. Me and Sean Connery both just looking at it going,
I don't get it.
I can't take this in.
You did take it in. You like Frodo and Bilbo. You like Bilbo.
The Bilbo.
There is one called Bilbo.
Yes, there is called.
I can't do this
No,
anymore.
we're on this one now. Anyway, no. But yes, I just love the fact that he understood fucking Highlander, but he was like, nah, Lord of the Rings, the baseline for all modern fantasy. Pfft, who understands that shit? Pass.
Slay.
But you understand it. It's not hard to understand. Anyway, we'll do Lord of the Rings one day, I'm sure.
He served cunt there.
He served cunt there. Anyway, he turned in a huge amount of money for that film. He'd have made millions and millions.
Exactly. Cunty.
What are you saying? I don't understand the
You doing
joke.
a bit just now.
What? You're not getting it either.
No.
Move on.
Claude, please. Claudie, please.
Young folk will get it.
No, tell me.
Like, I can't even like slay. Why?
He's serving cunt.
Yeah, for not getting Lord of the Rings. Love that for him.
Oh, okay. Yeah. She's just doing like Gen Z speak. I just thought there was like a tie-in with Sean
See,
Connery.
this is the cut-off line between millennial and Gen Z. I've got no clue when you've explained it. Abby's got the clue after she's got it, but she's right in the cusp and didn't
Sorry,
quite get it right
I was looking for
away.
additional meaning.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
Very funny. Very funny. Okay, so then we have the beach sequence that we mentioned, which I've now called the stag shag sequence, because they run on the beach, and it's actually kind of a moving sequence in some ways, because he's like, what else can I learn from you, Ramirez? You big haggis. You look like a haggis. He says this a lot. And then he's like, you look like an overstuffed haggis. All this. And then he says, it's actually genuinely quite a nice little moment. He's like, hey, listen, you can hear the beating there's a stag's heart you can hear, and there's a stag up at the side. And he's like, oh my God, he shuts his eyes and he can feel like he's a stag. And he's like, this is what you can do with these powers. You can feel the beings around you. Run, McLeod, run. So then they run on the beach together, laughing and smiling as the stag runs. And he's like, I can feel it. I can feel it. And he's got the heart of a stag now, apparently. But he's like, yes, you're inside the stag and all this. So I was like, I call it the stag shag sequence because I'm very mature. And then that builds to a big end of the montage, an insane fight sequence on the peak of some mountain in the Highlands. Impressive until you realise that is definitely not either of the two actors, and it doesn't even really look like them. And they're not even fighting fast, they're just going...
Doesn't even look like the Highlands.
They don't run at like superhuman speed. They just run like a fast guy.
Aye,
They do.
Their superpowers are hearing a lot and running at normal speed.
Like,
and being immortal.
That's basically their powers, yeah. But it's a little hint. This thing with the stag is a little hint of what the prize actually is.
Is it?
Yeah. We'll get to that. So, we also have a really cool sequence of them fighting on the peak, but they clearly are scared shitless because they're moving so slow. And then this is also in this sequence where I'm pretty sure Connor calls Ramirez. He goes, "Oh, you're what would the Spaniard know?" And he goes, "I'm not Spanish. I'm Egyptian." And you're like,
why?
Why?
What?
And why would you cast the most Scottish sounding man in a film called Highlander not to play a Highlander, and then have him play a Spaniard and then go, actually, no, fuck it, I'm actually Egyptian?
Although they do mess about completely, because I don't know whether we're going to cover this or whether it's in the section you've just talked about, but when he's talking about why he shouldn't fall in love.
Yeah, so that's what we're just coming on to that right now. So
when he's talking, he sets him down and he's like...
Sean Connery
sets down Highlander and he's like, Heather's class. Like, fair enough. But... dump her because she's going to die eventually and that will be devastating. You'd rather just get out of there now. And he's like, no, but she's really pretty. And he's like, aye, but listen to me. I had a Japanese princess I was married to, and that's where I got this obscene katana that I own. And, her dad was a genius and he made it for me and blah, 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 blah. He goes on weird exposition about this sword. But... they make him say the words and think about...
Sorry, it's actually Connor's sword. It's the sword that she finds at the crime scene in the future.
Yeah. They make him say the words and, like, knowing that Sean Connery, who has the shh, that when Shikiku died, I was shattered. I'd like to save you that sort of pain.
Sean Connery's accent. Where is it?
I've written it phonetically.
When Shikiku died, I was shattered. I'd like to shave you that short of pain.
And I was like, that was so unnecessary as like a run of, like, they did that on purpose.
Do you know they filmed all of Sean Connery's scenes in 1 week?
I thought you were going to say a day there, and I was
No, 1 week. They did it all.
I would have believed that.
They all did it in
I
one.
believed if they did the entire film in a week.
Yeah, no, to be fair, Sean Connery made a bet with the director they wouldn't get it done in that time, but he did. So the guy won the bet. So Sean Connery got paid I think it was $1 million. So that's like 1/20th of the entire budget of the film to be in it.
Wow.
For a week. He did it. He nailed it. Because he's one of the best parts of the film, in my opinion. So we give him the stakes. Hey, I've loved blah blah blah. Don't do it. And he's like, she's fucking sexy though, man. So blah. And he's like, I'm gonna go and do it either way. So, and then we learn about the mental origin of the Kurgin. The Kurgins were like a group of fucking like mad Russian like warriors who would like throw babies to the wolves, and whatever babies survived would become the next.
Kurgin throws Waynes into pits meat with dogs.
Great analysis from Claude over there.
It was something ridiculous, like they throw children into pits with dogs to fight for meat, and I'm like, are the babies the meat, or are the dogs the meat, or do the babies win meat if they fight the dogs?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I think it's
all of it.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
It's really conjuring an image, anyway.
To quote Kanye. That just end the podcast there? Right. It does conjure an image, and it's a pretty fucked up story. It's like, hey, what's the most mental story we can give to this guy? Fuck it. He maybe threw a baby in. He was the baby that got thrown in. Maybe he was the dog. Who the fuck knows? Anyway, this is when it's like, right, we need to team up, beat the Kurgin so we can't win the prize. There can be only one. Remember, McLeod. Again, that line. But, you know, they're like, hey, let's stick together. Teamwork. Yeah, we're going to do this. Cut to Sean Connery and Heather are just hanging out in the castle, and Connor's out for a walk. Fuck those when it is, you know, like, we got this together, bonded in blood. You're my trainer, I'm your learner.
In the middle of the night.
We're going to do this. And he's fucking somewhere.
Yeah, they make very little.
They've given
They
you
don't
no,
explain why he's not
no
there.
reason why he's not there. And at first I was like, well, fair give it. And I went, you know what though? That's fucking hilarious that they didn't give this. Right after the smash cut of, we're in this together, we're all in this together, and then gone. No, you're not. You're
See, because
Sharpie.
that scene begins with like Heather and Ramirez sitting like hanging out at the table, and I'm like,
Better chemistry.
oh, maybe, I don't know, maybe he's upstairs asleep, and they're
Yeah.
just like, they're up later,
Oh, yeah,
like
'cause
having this wee bonding
sorry,
moment.
'cause he's
But no,
yeah.
he's not in the building. He's not.
I kept
Because it
thinking,
gets destroyed.
Yeah.
And he's still not there.
whilst it's being destroyed and like, you know, fight scenes are going on because obviously the Kurgan appears and he's been a menace. Like, I just kept thinking, oh, and he's gonna run in and be like, what the hell? That whole thing takes place without him. And like, I understand when you get to the end of the film, there's a revelation that leads us to why they did it this way. But it looks as if the Kurgan gets Heather. And then the next time we see them, it's like,
Oh, we're fine.
they're together and she's an old woman.
Yeah.
It just narratively is bonkers the way that they do
Right.
this.
Yeah. So, it's ridiculous because, but yeah, as you say, Kurgan shows up, absolutely fucking destroys. Well, not at first. Connery's actually holding his own at first, and then it's cool. Every time this is actually probably my favourite fight in the film because every time they clash, another part of the stonework collapses. Like, see when they do it in the future areas where it's like sparks flying and metal falling. To me, it's not as impressive as when you get like a fucking stone wall getting whipped out. Like, it looks really impressive. I think it looks impressive. Like, it's kind of hokey and silly, but
I wrote, and I mean this sincerely, I
thought
love
the set
how
design was
much the
great.
set looks like a set.
Yeah,
It looks
yeah.
like a soundstage, and I kind of like that. Like, it doesn't look like a real castle.
Love it. Perfect. The magic of cinema. But yeah. And then they crawl up the top of this.
Wait, are you saying that you like that it didn't look real?
Yeah. We like that was like.
Like, it looked like practical effects. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I can see that that's a soundstage.
Yeah,
where they
there's a thing, like Abby and I have discussed that we really like it when you can tell that a film.
like seeing something in the theatre more.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
play.
Like, for example, in Vertigo, they show you the street lamps, but it's just painted on. And it's very clearly a painted street lamp, but it kind of just adds to that weird, slightly you're watching something, the artifice is getting made attention to, so then sillier things can happen, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, good film. Yeah.
And that's, I mean, I'm
But I
not
think
a lover of this
I-
film, but I do like that.
I think it works to the advantage of
No,
this
that's I
film.
agree. I don't like. I think that CGI and stuff like that is bollocks. It's
Yeah.
so fucking lame. But like, it didn't look good.
No, but I think the hokiness is what makes it look good to me. I wish they would make films like this now.
Yeah, no,
That
I
look a
agree.
bit shitty.
I agree. You
You know, a little bit rough.
No,
But
I agree.
anyway, I understand. But they destroy the set. They go fuck it, and then it ends with them on the top of the staircase, and we get this iconic shot of, you know, almost knocked over a light. The Kurgan stabbing Sean Connery. He's like, ah, and then Sean Connery gets beheaded on the top of the staircase, dying. The Kurgan absorbs the powers. He's buzzing. Grabs Heather, and he's like, ah, because Connery said, this is my wife. And he's like, oh, you like them young, do you, Ramirez? Ha ha ha. It's like, oh, Kurgan, stop. So then we do another flash forward, because this film won't let you chill for a minute. To a brilliant scene in New York where they talk about fucking swords. Once again, Brendan the metallurgist? No, the metallurgist.
This is exactly like The Rim, man. I'm just like, all of these scenes all meld into each other.
Yeah, man.
Where you're like, yeah, we're doing another flashback, and then we're going to come back and talk about swords, and then flashbacks and swords. Honestly, see every part of the New York phase of this film, I didn't give a fuck.
Oh
about.
yeah, it's the worst part.
And the main female protagonist don't give a shit.
Look,
Like,
If
fucking,
this woman
ugh.
wants you to know
Drivel.
one thing, is that the metal in this sword was folded 200 times.
Yeah.
Which is a phrase that she repeats insistently throughout this film.
Yep.
And what does that actually mean?
So the whole point is that the metal's not been folded, and that there's a technique that
It's not been folded.
No, it has been folded. Sorry. No, shut up. The whole point of it is this is a technique that was developed in the Middle Ages, but this sword carbon dates back to thousands of years before that. So how the fuck has this happened? What's going on? This is an anomaly. If I discover this will be the biggest breakthrough in my field of metal lovers. Which is an insane plot. What a plot!
But
Sorry.
who cares other than her?
Like,
No one.
she feels like a shy character from the worst episode of Columbo.
Oh, she does. Oh, it makes me love it even more. I love Columbo.
We're jumping. I don't want to go too much into her passion for metallurgy, but honestly, my favourite point in this whole film is because of her and her passion for metallurgy, but we'll get to that later.
Okay, so we're talking about swords. Great. And then Connor goes, I don't give a fuck about this. He goes, do you cook? That was more like Tommy Wiseau, but he goes, do you cook? And she goes, why? And he goes, I thought we might have dinner. Are you hungry? Just so you're hungry, man. Then we cut to.
Wait, no, is it this bit? Maybe it is this bit. My favourite part of this whole film, basically, they're in her apartment.
It's not that bit yet. It's almost there. I thought we were at that bit. We're not. We're almost there. Because before that, we've got to introduce Rachel. The character of Rachel.
Do we have to? We don't have to. Why did they do it?
No, but
like, the film didn't have to, is what I mean.
Yes, but I think also we misread what their relationship is meant to be.
No, we didn't.
No, I don't think
No,
we did.
I think we fully understand what it is. So
And
You
every-
tell me what you think it is.
Well, it's meant to be a father-daughter relationship.
yes, and then he
That's his
wenches her.
adopted daughter.
That is,
And then he
that's
kisses
the
her on the
problem.
mouth.
Yeah, but I
Like,
don't think
passionately.
it's meant to be. I want to fuck you. I don't think it's I want to fuck you kiss. I think it's
No,
just
but also, like, it's a kiss on the mouth, man.
Between
Yeah.
two adults.
yeah, but like
She's, like, older
people,
than him
people,
now.
people do that.
Not adults. Yeah, they shouldn't.
It's uncomfortable.
It's
The way that
okay.
it's shot makes it feel romantic.
Right. Anyway, so
Rachel is.
let me set up to this. Who Rachel is? Brenda is like, what should I tell people about you? And he goes, tell them I'm immortal. And then we get the insane smash cut to a World War II battlefield where we meet and discover how he met Rachel.
So unnecessary to the plot as well. Why
Oh,
the
no.
fuck
One
are
of
we
my-
here?
one of my favourite sequences.
This is the only other part in history that we go to other than like the
no, it's
Scottish
not.
Highlands.
No, it's not. It goes to 1786 as well, which we'll get to in a minute. So, cuts to World War II battlefield. We see him getting shot by Nazis, getting shot about. He then runs into a barn, finds this little girl. She's like, my mama died. Oh, it's all like, oh my God, you're okay. He picks her up. He's like, hey, it's fine. And then this fucking Gestapo, fucking full SS outfit just walks in and just machine guns them down, like out of nowhere. She falls, he falls, but he's like protected her. She's like, how are you still alive? And he goes, hey, it's a kind of magic.
It's a kind of magic.
And that kind of hums in the background a little bit. I think that's
a
where they got
magic.
that's where they got the song from that line. It's not the other way around.
It so feels like it's the other way
Right?
around. That was a huge oversight. Oh, don't worry. It's just Queen. This song is not going to become big in its own
No, but
right.
I think that's what they
it's
wanted.
not going to feel as if in the future this is a reference to that very song.
That's what they wanted. They wanted it to stick in pop culture. They wanted this to be like a fucking.
People love this song though, but I don't think people like
They don't.
naturally associate it with Highlander.
Yeah, I think they. I think Highlander just enjoy it. I think the guys are just happy to be in the conversation. But anyway,
So going on from that, so
Well-
basically he saves her. He
well,
ends up gunning
can I
down
just
the
give you my
Nazi.
favourite line?
Yeah, of course.
So he stands up, and the Nazi comes over to finish them off. He disarms the Nazi, picks up his gun. The Nazi starts shouting at him in Nazi-ish German, Nazi-ish, but yeah, starts shouting at him in German. And then Christopher Lambert just looks at him and goes, "Whatever you say, Jack. You're the master race," and just machine guns
You
him
just
down.
did
like
that
Cold
with
Blood.
more Riz than he did it.
I
he
don't
goes,
know.
whatever you say, Jack, you're the master race.
No,
It's
watch it again.
ridiculous.
His face is
It's so Tommy Wiseau,
it's
man.
so Tommy Wiseau, and that's I think why I love it so much as well. Like I love seeing him in a.
We've made such shocking comparisons. This it's like Tommy Wiseau and the Star Wars prequels in the same film.
And the worst episode of Columbo.
along with
And a really shit episode of the X-Files in the parking garage at the start.
and also like the only film about a metallurgist. that's something.
So he saves this wee girl Rachel from the Nazis and then brings her up as his child, which is what you're saying, but they don't
really explicitly
say that.
Yeah, they don't.
So
you're absolutely right.
She kind of works as his receptionist at his, like, wherever he does his
at his museum.
His wee museum
with his bog and fish tank.
And then whenever, like, this is a wee bit later on, but whenever he's leaving to go and like deal with the Kurgin for the last time, he has to say goodbye to her because he's like, I'm gonna have to assume another identity now. This one's finished, right? And then they winch like next to, it's like dark outside and they're next to a window and they kiss each other. And you're saying it's supposed to be a father-daughter relationship, but she's like obviously older than him now because it's been years since the war, and he's immortal, and it just looks fucking really weird. And it's like, it's essentially like he's groomed her.
Yeah, so it's even worse than that, Claude. It's even cattle jumping quickly. It's even worse than that, Claude. He doesn't kiss her when he goes to fight the Kurgin for the last time, because I just watched that there. Doesn't kiss her then. He just kisses her at some other point when he goes out. Yeah,
because she says that girl that you're talking to, she's basically like, who's that girl you're talking to? Brenda, you seem into her, and he's like, nah, you know my deal, I can't be with people, it's not worth it. And she goes, yeah, but you seem really lonely. And he goes, Rachel, you've always been a romantic, and kisses her on the mouth.
Yeah. Bad framing. If that's meant to be your daughter relationship, bad framing, because I've got you guys literally
just don't have it.
You guys literally
just don't have her in it at all.
Yeah, no, I like her being in it. Just don't do that. You have.
It's not her fault, not the character's fault, but just because of the entire connotations of it, just don't have her.
But you need to have her for the World War II sequence, which is by far the best sequence in the whole fucking movie. But anyway, at this point, I've got a quote from you guys. You screamed at the screen going, he's a munter, he's a flubber, he's a pedo! Yeah. That's what
I mind that.
Thank you. Right, back to bed. We cut back to the present, and then we get...
Do we? What a shock.
Fuck off. But yes.
That's the criticism of you.
I know, but
you didn't make the film.
This is when I gave up on it as well.
Secretly, I did. I'm actually an immortal. I started being an immortal when I tried to cut my head off.
When you died of embarrassment after making this.
That's a better one than I was going to go for.
This is when I think I gave up because my last note is he groomed the wee lassie.
And you were just fucking, I'm done with this. This film is disgusting.
This is not worth any more of my fucking brain power.
Have a seat right over here. That's what you need. Yeah, scrumple it. I keep all my notes.
No, I just for the bit. For the ASMR.
Feels a bit disrespectful. It's not. It's fine. So, bizarre scene. This is the bizarre scene. Can you stop texting?
I'm sorry.
That's where our notes are. You absolute fud.
Also, I was earlier checking to see if
I took a chance.
Highlander
I took a chance.
is mentioned on the Wikipedia page for metallurgy. Sadly, it isn't. I was really hoping there was going to be like an in popular culture or something.
Let's do it. Oh my god, I'm going to edit on Wikipedia tonight. A metallurgy sequence. As discussed very, very thoughtfully and provokingly in the 1986 classic Highlander. It's happening. It's done. In that accent.
Right. Before we move on, it is 20 to 10.
Yeah, what's the timestamp, Cammy?
I'm running it 2 hours on here. There's probably half an hour to start.
I thought we were getting an hour cap.
Do you think that had only been an hour?
I that's why I asked. It's clearly only been an hour. Right, so let's get this done. Okay, cool. So then we cut to very bizarre scene in modern day. Another really bizarre scene, but somehow it tops itself. This is Christopher Lambert's acting is so fucking off the rails here. So he's in Brenda's apartment now, and Brenda knows that he is something other than what he's claiming, and he knows that she's onto him. So he's just going about and he's like, I like your place, Brenda. As he picks up a gun that she's got in a cabinet and he's just holding it, he's like, I like your place, Brenda. And it's like, mate, okay.
I wanted to, because this is like 2 of my favourite bits in the whole film. Also, we've skipped over the one other thing is she knows that he's immortal because she finds his birth certificate, goes to a doctor.
We're not there yet.
Okay, patch that then. We're in her apartment just now?
Yeah.
You sure we haven't done that yet?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're in his apartment, her apartment, and she's got a poster on the wall of a guy in a Highland kilt.
Yeah.
So it's like a cartoonish drawing of like a Highlander, and he turns to it and goes, like snorts at it as if like that's an unrealistic representation of a Scottish person. And I was like, that's me watching this film. I felt like I was seeing like the mirror through the mirror through the mirror through the mirror. It was such a surreal moment where I was like, yeah, man, me too.
Do you think that was like on purpose? Do you think that was like a little kind of like we know?
So what was the exact quote again?
There wasn't.
It wasn't a quote.
She's got a poster of a Highlander like this.
Yeah.
Like a guy in a kilt, and he's like got bagpipes, and it's like a kind of silly drawing caricature of a Highlander, and he walks through her hallway and he sees it and he goes at the picture as if like, how ridiculous.
It's like, but you're not this. Yeah.
I'm like, him looking at that picture is me watching this film.
Absolutely. He's just doing the most in this scene and know enough.
He says something to her about like, why have you come to me? Like, did you just want, I don't know. He basically suggests to her that she has some kind of ulterior motive. He knows that there's a reason that she wants to get close to him. I think he maybe says like, do you have feelings for me or something?
Yeah.
And then she's like, no, I just really need to know about this metal sword.
She doesn't give a fuck.
She gives such an impassioned speech
Honestly,
about how, and I'm like, what?
She's just a love interest by proxy. Her main thing is metal. Like, that's her main fucking thing. But like, he
It's
keeps.
my favourite bit in the whole film.
It's great.
It's just so insane.
What? Just her?
Just her like bursting into peals of like absolute passion about how she wants to be the leading person in her field of metallurgy.
Yep.
And he's just like, you want to shag me, but
She's like,
Yes.
nah, man, it's all about the sword.
It's all about the sword. So, he's just going off. He's just taking the piss with her. I like your place. We're holding a gun. Interesting view, Brenda. He says, well, speaking into what he thinks is a bugging device that she's used to record the conversation. He then gives her a gift of her own book. And he's just like, you're like, mate.
see, that's protagonist has no fucking res. Is he meant to have res? Is he meant to be attractive? Is he meant to be kind
People
of
talk about him being attractive.
what the fuck?
Quite
are
a
you
lot of
talking
people
about?
find him quite attractive.
Who?
I don't know, I've just seen
Names.
articles. Names? I'll get
Give
them
me
out.
them. Is he meant to be like a kind of Robert Pattinson character where he's like does all these creepy things, but you're still like,
Well, I think that was the original writing of him. The original writing of the character before they edited the script was it was more dark and brooding and damaged. And then they went, fuck it, let's make it lighter. And then
Yeah,
Christopher
like-
Lambert was just like,
Edward's like, I've watched you sleep and I want to eat you, and you're like, yes, fucking please. But with this guy, you'd be like,
you're like, don't
Get
watch me
away
sleep.
from me.
And don't ever dare think about me. In any way involving the word eating. Didn't mean a joke out there, but there it was. Anyway, he gives her this terrible gift. He's an actual maniac, though. His expressions are, he's like a horror movie villain at this point. It's so off kilter. But yeah, so Brenda's whole plot investment with these sword fragments is to do with that style of craft that you said, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but wait now, this sword comes from Sean Connery, because this is the sword that he gets off of Connery's body.
yeah.
But is all this just based on a story that Sean Connery just said to Heather to be impressive? Like, I was dating a princess from Japan. Did he just get it from a gift shop? Is her whole metallurgy plot just based on a bit of bullshit from Sean Connery? Possibly. Anyway, not enough time to think about that. Flashback to Blossom and Connor. Heather and Connor. Yeah. And this is where we get Who Wants to Live Forever sad song sequence. I actually watched this again today and cried, so it is great. First time I ever watched it, my friend Ed, very hungover, we turned around and he was just sobbing. He was just like, it's so beautiful. It's fucking lovely. Oh, he loves her, but she's getting old and he won't age because he's immortal. And I was just like, yeah, man. And then I watched it today again for the first time, cried at it, and I was like, oh, fuck. Why am I like this?
So she's got really old basically because he's immortal, and it is quite sweet.
It's again, our thing is, this film is filled with so many sequences that are individually quite good, and then just attached to the most the most insane, ridiculous, overwrought shit you'll ever watch.
Just like total vibe shifts all over the place, because that scene is quite wholesome and sweet,
It's
and you're
lovely.
like, stick with a wee bit more of this, you know, and then you'd kind of like get where the urge is coming from to fight this like Kurgin character. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. So, home stretch now. We then cut back after this sad sequence, learning more about Connor's backstory. I do quite like this. We get into a little rhythm of Heather's deed, blah, blah, back and forth. We get the backstory, we get to the present, blah, blah. Now we meet another immortal, Castigear, his charming friend. They meet on a bridge in New York City, and Castigear, they do a little, we gonna fight? Ha, yeah, man, we gotta kill the Kurgin, fuck the Kurgin, woo! And he goes, hey, have a drink of this. As my father would say, Connor, it puts hair on your chest. And he goes, what is it? And he goes, boom, boom. And he goes, yeah, but what is it? And he goes, it's boom boom. And he goes, oh, okay. And he goes, you're strong enough to handle some boom boom. And it's like, what the fuck are we drinking? What is boom boom? Who's Castigear? That's his name? Castigear it is. And then he goes, hey, let's party, Connor. And then he goes, oh, the last time
on a bridge at 2:00 in the afternoon.
No. And he goes, hey, this is what he says. Hey, he goes, don't you remember the last time we partied, Castigear? And he goes, no. He goes, last time he partied was 1783. And then the most inexplicable sequence in an already inexplicable film full of inexplicable sequences happens. And we get a flashback to 1783 it's a duel in ye old England, 18th century. Castigear's like, oh yes, your famous duel on Boston Common. You were very drunk. His name was Bassett. And we have this duel. Connor is dressed in like...
I forgot about
and Connor's
this.
like, I'm so drunk. I mean, that's not how he speaks. I'm so drunk. He's like this with his wig off, and he's having like a sabre duel with this rich English New England gentry. He's absolutely shit-faced, and he's stabbed like 3 or 4 times by this guy and just won't go down. He's just laughing his head off at the guy. And he goes... Well, it turns out Connor kind of deserved it because he reminds Mr. Bassett of the childish insult he made towards his wife. So it's like, yeah, Connor, you kind of deserved it. But then Connor apologised for it. This guy's like, I've just stabbed you 4 times. How are you laughing at me? And he walks away. But his manservant is so incensed with this that he runs up to fucking Mr. Bassett and hands him 2 loaded pistols. He goes, shoot him in the back, shoot him now. And then Mr. Bassett is so affronted by this, he grabs the guns off of him and just turns to his manservant with them and tells him to run. And the manservant's like, no, runs away, and then he just gets shot in the back of the head. Meanwhile, Castigear and fucking Connor are just like pissing themselves in the background, like, and they walk away. And we're just like,
just japes with the boys.
What the fuck's going on? But again, it's little things like this that I love this film for. They're just like, yeah, fuck it, that time period. How can we get to that time period? Fuck it, it's a joke, it's a throwaway line. This is what
and it's basically, it seems to be the only reason that this Castigear character exists, because he just dies like in the next scene.
Yes.
Yeah, off camera.
No, doesn't die off camera.
No, on camera.
On camera. So
Kurgin beheads him on camera.
Yeah, kills him on camera.
Alleyway.
Yeah, and he
I
gets...
missed that. I just
You
thought
watched it 3 times. You're a nightmare.
I just don't care about fighting.
Anyway.
Too many boys in this film.
There's way too many boys in this
Too
film.
many boys in this film. We're fucking talking... I'm talking to people that love the Twilight films. You know, there's too many wee boys in this film.
There's too many boys.
Not wee boys, just all boys. I can't wait till we see Barbie, man. We're going to be really in our element.
I'm buzzing for Barbie as well, actually.
But right now,
mostly
we're
for
watching
Ken.
Highlander.
No, not for Ken. And then we get another hard cut to present day. So we had the shot, the guy being shot in the back, they're laughing, 1783, and then it cuts to a TV news report. It's probably one of my favourite cuts in the film. TV news report going, and that's the mood in New York City tonight. Like right after this guy got shot in the back of the head, I was like, oh, very funny. So then we have the Kurgin walking through his hotel room, full Terminator style, and this is where the owner does that bit that you said. He goes, hey, Kenny said you were really kinky. And he's like, don't ever speak to me. And then threatens him, and then our wee rogue man just starts laughing. He's like, shut the fuck up. This is my hotel. And then we cut away and like, okay. Once again, why are the extras doing this? And then we just start following this random guy who seems to be like this heavily armed thug just driving around the streets of New York. And then he witnesses the Kurgin and Casimir fight. And that's when Casimir, our friend, gets decapitated. Clearly his boom boom didn't help. Then the thug shoots him and the Kurgin is like, oh, I've been shot. And then just stabs the guy. And then the quickening happens. Kurgin gets stronger. Castigears floats into the sky. This guy's been stabbed in the gut, and he's like, all of New York shows up, it seems, for this film, for this fight. So everything's like blown up. Like, and it's meant to be like, oh, you've just seen an amazing sword fight with this weird stuff. But as far as they can see, things are just on fire and blown up. And these New Yorkers are just like, fuck, there goes the old neighborhood. Jersey's burnt, you know, like, what the fuck, man? They just don't give a fuck.
Jersey Town, New York.
Jersey Town, New York. That's how it
Little
felt.
Jersey.
Little Jersey. So the Kurgin then steals a car. And again, the Kurgin, Clancy Brown is so good in this film. He steals the car, there's an old woman, and like, oh, and he just goes, boo. And then...
Right, just quickly on the subject of this woman.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about her here.
I was like... Is the rogue a wee granny again? Why is the wee granny on the bonnet of the car? Wait, did she rogue or was she rogued?
I think she was both. Well, no, she's rogued. But then as she's driving...
She's in the car with her husband, and he just,
gets out?
Annihilates the guy. I think he just throws him out the back.
Yeah, I think he gets thrown out.
But she's in the car, so how does she end up on the bonnet?
Well, no, she doesn't end up on the bonnet. What happens is she stands up in the convertible car and just starts screaming, help me, daddy, help me, daddy. That's what she screams. No, it is.
Surely
because
not.
the Kurgin comes in and goes, hi, mommy. Boo, and then drives away. And then she's just like, help me, daddy. And then... I don't know what happens to her. Dies, goes into history. Like, who knows? But yeah, man, these extras are just shocking.
Doing it all.
So he drives away with that, and we cut to the thug in the hospital going absolutely mental as he's getting interviewed by these fucking stupid as fuck cops. He's like, I can't protect myself. I can't protect anything. And he just cuts away. The film's like, we don't actually need to listen to this guy. It just shows you through the glass as he screams against music, and he has like a fucking full-on piss fit McShite time over the fact that I got stabbed by a man. Anyway, fair play. But the cops...
Punishing this guy for being upset that he got stabbed.
Yeah, we just keep... This last bit, we just keep layering in these extras. Like the cops are then razzed by street vendors who are like, hey, says you guys are incompetent. But instead of getting angry at the street vendors you'd expect, he goes, ha ha ha, it's the mayor's fault. And you're like, okay. And then we cut to Brenda discovering... Connor, this is where it comes in.
Can I please talk about this?
Yes, please do. I've been talking so much. Please talk about this bit.
So Brenda has gotten a hold of not Connor McLeod's. What's his name in this? Some fucking random name. He's got some shite name.
He's like
Russell Nash.
Russell Nash.
That's
right.
one of his personas.
So she has got hold of Russell Nash's birth certificate, and she has tracked down in Syracuse, where he was born, his doctor, and she presents him the birth certificate and goes, do you remember this? And he goes, yes, single mother, I was an illegitimate child and blah, 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 blah. And then, or it's a single mother, and she goes, was the child illegitimate? And he goes, yes, for about a minute and a half. And then he died. And you're like, why are you making wisecracks about the death of a woman who died in childbirth and her child who died also, newborn baby?
This is what I've got written down. It's like the tone shifts, the tonal whiplash in this sequence is, this is silly wild fun. Oh, he's immortal. Oh, he's been changing. Oh, he's been inheriting things. Oh, he's a busk of it. And then it's grim. The ma died. Child died. Ha ha ha.
But it's delivered like a punchline.
Yes.
It's so bizarre.
But it's not true. It's not real.
No, the thing is, the kids did die. He just took... The thing is, he didn't cover his tracks.
It's an identity fraud.
Basically, he's taken the identity of a dead child and then pretended to be that child growing up, but then didn't change the records.
He's got no res.
Yeah, because he's also stupid as fuck. He doesn't change the records.
Man,
Like,
he's creepy. He's fucking, like, just... So, he's creepy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's grooming lassies.
Mm-hmm.
And he's stalking lassies.
Mm-hmm.
And he's committing identity fraud.
Yep.
Like, this guy fucking sucks. And he's a munter. And a flubber and a pedo.
He's a flubber, he's a munter, he's a pedo.
I was getting more like, I'm a bitch, I'm a flubber.
He's a munter, he's a flubber, he's a pedo. Lock him up. Anyway, so
Lock him up.
this stupid plotline concludes with her, it's basically, as I said, Connor's been finding people that died in childbirth, including the kids, and assuming their identities. What a dark plotline. What a weirdly dark plotline that is, again, clearly a holdover from an earlier draft of the script. But he's been giving them gifts and money and goods, the antiques. That's how he's got them all throughout the years. Anyway, and then I think you pointed out to me that all the letters of his different personas spell out his real name or something like that. And it's like, why, mate? Why are you doing that? Why are you putting a trail of breadcrumbs? Oh, if you figure out the clues, you'll know that I'm actually an immortal Highlander. Shut up! Don't do that.
Yeah, she gets like a. It's not a handwriting specialist who compares all the various signatures.
They hire some other fucking
There's so much
from the basement.
very
of the
very
NYPD.
specific job.
They're from the same miscellaneous department.
Yeah, like the
So they just
Department
run
of Wacky
all of his like
Investigations.
different IDs and stuff like that through this computer to see how they match up, and then it all kind of comes together and spells out.
It's like the I am Lord Voldemort. I am Highlander.
Yes.
But anyway, then we actually cut to a good scene. Possibly one of my favourite scenes in the film, just because it's ridiculous and dark. It just does everything. It's the church scene. So Connor goes into the church, and it kind of starts off very somber. Starts off very somber. He lights a candle for Heather. He lights a candle for Ramirez, and he goes, "You'll be looking out for the now, you overstuffed haggis." And you're like, "Oh, a little callback, cute." And then the Kurgin shows up.
So I've written that I couldn't work out what this reminded me of. I was like, it's Home Alone.
It is Home Alone. It's like when he goes to
The scene in the church where he's like having the really and I was like, of course he's Kevin McAllister. And then the Kurgin walks in like both of the Joe Pesci,
Joe Pesci and
the other guy.
sorry, mate. My casting, I can't mind his fucking name.
Just barges in.
Aye, so
And absolutely destroys the fight.
this is also like if the scene in Home Alone was the old man came in and he actually was the demon that we all thought he was. And he was like, ah, ha, 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 you're in here, you're really safe that you got those doors and I ain't leaving first. Meh. And you're like, oh, that would be a different Home Alone. Glad we didn't have that Home Alone. But anyway, Kurgin shows up and he shows up on the fucking psychopathic wind up. He's slapping out candles like he's fucking chasing nuns away. He's fucking like sexually harassing the nuns, being like, bah. And you're like, mate, can you please? He then reveals that he killed Casimir to Connor. He then reveals that he also assaulted Heather. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, Kurgin. And then he realizes, oh, Ramirez never told you.
Of course Ramirez never told him he was dead.
Oh, sorry, Ramirez lied. No. Ramirez lied to, trying to save her. And you're like, well, aye, fuck. So then, obviously, then just gives even more reason to Connor, and it explains why she survived. And I don't know, there's something, he's like, I wonder why she never told you. And he's like trying to be like, oh, do you think she got something from me that she didn't get from you and just wanted some more? Like, man, can you please stop?
Very fucking again.
Can we
A
edit
huge
this?
vibe shift.
Yeah, total
It's
shift.
all been really super kind of like
Well,
hokey
apart-
and silly and stuff
They
like
keep
that.
doing this, though.
And then it's like, oh, like I'm taking the identities of dead babies, and oh, I like sexually assaulted your wife and she enjoyed it. Like, fucking hell, man.
I know, but
Come
again,
on.
the Kurgin is just trying to be the most.
Where did that come from?
The Kurgan's like a villain, and then goes, you know what? I'm going to be even more villainous than I need to be, just because I can.
I didn't notice the neck thing until this
Yeah,
scene.
so that's when Sean Connery cut him in the throat.
Yeah,
So-
Sean Connery cuts his throat open, but not enough
Yeah,
before he's killed.
yeah.
And like now this guy has been cutting about for, I assume, 500 years, just safety pinning his neck together.
Yeah, it's great.
I'd like to think that he doesn't safety pin his neck together. I'd like to think that he's just doing that because he's an emo and it healed on its own and it's fine.
Or conversely, did he lean into the emo like subculture when it started coming up, being like, finally a way to explain these safety pins holding my neck together?
Absolutely. And then, like, the Kurgan has also shaved his head in this sequence, and he goes, so people won't recognise me. And you're like, that's very funny. I don't know if he's being serious or not. I kind of hope that he isn't. I kind of hope that he is, that he actually believes that he's incognito. But either way, Connor's like, I'm going to kill you, but no in church. And you're like, okay, sure.
They can't fight on hallowed ground.
Oh, is that actually?
That's the rules. That's why he's like, they're kind of like checking in each other out of leaving.
I thought it was just because Connor was a wee choir boy.
Nah, Sean Connery lays that out in his exposition.
Thank you,
Easy
Abigail.
to see how you might have missed it since there was so much of it, but can he fight on hallowed ground?
Fair play. And that's watching it 3 times. You've corrected that and got rid of my funny joke. So, cheers, Abby. Anyway, no, it's all fun and games. So, Kurgin laughs and makes fun of God. Connor's gone. The priest then comes up to him and is like, mate, it's a church. Everyone's fucking left. Can you fucking calm down? And then the Kurgan's just like, God likes these mortals. And then he just licks the priest's hand and then like fucking tickles him a wee bit.
He's like
walks out and
the
then,
worst cunt at the afters.
is.
He just won't leave your fucking house.
And then he announces with, I have something to say. It's better to burn out than to fade away. And there's a little twirl around and leaves.
This is you. This is like
You.
see
Calling me the Kurgan.
See if you were in a church with me and it was like really quiet and then you said something loud and I was like, Swanny, shut up. And then you were like, I might empty the church. And then I made this kind of overly biting comment like, aye man, you're so bad, you could empty a church. And then you would stand up and just to prove me wrong, that's exactly how you would empty a church.
Yeah.
You would just scream obscenities. You would start licking folks' hands.
I
You
think
would just start going
I'd lick
mental.
your hands. And I'd be like,
You'd start screaming as if the devil had possessed you. Like you would just, and then you would shout some kind of like rock and roll face.
Baby. And then you would do a wee twirl and then you'd fuck it and you'd be like, fucked it, shite. Sorry, Pat slapped me, Pat battered me in the dirt side.
well, my pals clearly think a lot about me. Very accurately, though. Can't speak. Very accurately, though. Not laugh and text. You're not. You're looking
texting, I'm reading my
through.
notes.
No, sorry, been called out already. Little fat noises. No. So he says that line, and then we cut again to Brenda boring us all with she starts confronting Connor in his home. This when he shows the antiques room with his little speaking pit thing that he's got.
Conversation pit.
Conversation pit.
In the room that no one's allowed to go
And
into.
we do a 360 spin of all the antiques, but we don't really hang on them enough for it to really be cool. It's like, all right, we got the antiques, let's do them in a shot. And it's a cool shot, but they don't linger. Anyway, whatever. He tells her that he's immortal. She then makes a joke going, we've all got problems. And it's like, for fuck's sake. And then he tells her, he gives her a dagger, brings it close to him, stands with her and goes, my name is Connor MacLeod. And I was born in 1518 in Glenfinnan on the shores of Loch Shiel. And I was just like, I know that place. I know that place. I like that whiskey. No, do I? Has Glenfinnan got whiskey? Maybe I don't. And then he forces her to stab him in the heart to prove he's immortal. There's a full Superman Lois Lane thing here. Because that's like something that always happens in Superman comics. Lois Lane either shoots Superman or Superman's like saves her from falling, something shit like that. And that clearly is a little inspiration. Superhero things clearly inspired some of this a little bit as well, I imagine. Anyway, they fuck, and she kills him. No, they fuck. I misread the word tells as kills. Jesus Christ. So they fuck and she kills him. The end.
Thank you for listening to the Study I Don't podcast.
You tell me. Didn't they build up and you thought it was going to? Anyway.
Oh my god, I wish that's how it
This
ended.
is like the worst sex scene ever as well.
Yeah.
It's like
it
the
is,
room again. It's
it is
so
like the room.
bad.
Oh, it's bad.
And then it just cuts to them at the zoo.
Yeah, it cuts to two lions roaring. It's like,
Yeah, it's a sex scene between the two of them that's like so unsexy.
yeah, and then
like in the middle of it, it doesn't feel as if it's reached a conclusion, shall we say.
yeah.
It just cuts from them having sex to lions, and you're like, oh, like I wonder what weird metaphor we're going for here, and it just zooms out to reveal they're at the zoo.
Yeah, they're just sitting at the zoo.
The next day.
And then he basically just like, yeah, that was fun, but I don't really do this. I'm not a relationship guy. And then she's like, do you know your issue is most people are afraid to die. You're afraid to live.
Okay, immortal commitment issues.
Yeah. So anyway, the Kurgin then shows up and going, right, we need to hurry this film along. And he kidnaps her and drives her around. And possibly, we agreed, possibly the best sequence of the whole film.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
A wacky,
He's like driving into oncoming traffic and he's like swerving in and out of all these cars and she's just fucking screaming and he's just pissing himself laughing.
Yep.
And it's actually shot kind of cool and it's like
yeah, he's covering his eyes as well.
Yeah, it's like it's cool. Like and
It's a good sequence.
yeah, and
then Queen
another
plays.
film.
Another film. No, but hey, wacky car ride, and what's the word for it? He runs people over as well. And like,
It's literally like fucking GTA.
yeah,
man.
he's literally going full GTA and just going mental.
Fucking San Andreas.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Like literally, the Kurgan looks like a character you could make for GTA Online.
Oh.
that famous Martin Compson vehicle.
Brilliant. Oh. But anyway, and then he sees a big sign and he goes, this is where we're going to go. And a Queen song blares. He drives them over a bridge the wrong way, of course, grinding along the side of it, sparks flying everywhere. Great. Connor then learns of this kidnapping from a voicemail that the Kurgin has left for him. And the whole point of that voicemail, I guess, is so that Rachel can then overhear. Rachel being his ward, who's now older than him, his ward / grooming victim. Said that way too many times. She realises Connor is going to leave and never come back, even if he does kill the Kurgin. And he goes, yeah, you knew this would happen one day. This identity is basically done. I need to go. And then they embrace. There's actually a hug this time, not a fucking alright kiss. Not an alright kiss. Oh, for fuck's sake.
I like that.
No, an alright kiss.
You said not an alright kiss.
Anyway, they embrace. He walks away. 6 out of 10, wouldn't he? Stop it. Don't encourage me because I'll take it too far. Anyway. The jokes! Not. Can we stop this?
I wouldn't finish that one.
Only you can stop it.
There can only be one.
There can be only one.
Mama, please.
Pedo, please. Right, too much. We cut that. Anyway.
That's the line.
Yes.
Let's finish this. I want to leave Scotland.
I want to leave Scotland too, but we're in New York apparently. Anyway, so she looks sad as he leaves and he goes, it's a kind of magic. And you're like, great. Love that. Love that for you, Highlander. And then we have the mental duel with the Kurgin. So we're not going to go through all of it. It's a big duel, but basically some highlights. Starts on top of a billboard where Rachel is tied up.
Is it the Silver Cup Studios?
What is that?
So it's where The Sopranos was shot. It's the biggest, or one of the biggest
Sound
in New York
stages.
sound stages, yeah. But it was actually, because I looked it up, it was actually filmed at Silver Cup Studios. It's not just the
That's very
sign that
cool.
they use, but it's
Amazing.
where they filmed The Sopranos.
Very fucking cool. So that's where we start fighting, Silver Cup Studios. So Rachel's tied up. They're swinging on ropes. The Kurgin does a super spin 3000 attack where he breaks the supports for the letters of the billboard. They start falling, sparks flying everywhere. This causes metal to collapse. A water tank spills. Water's flowing everywhere. She's screaming, hanging on. They keep fighting with her shite sword fighting. The Kurgin does a silly spin to hide underwater for a bit. Rachel barely hangs on from a fall to her death. They fight and electricity sparks off their blades now because why the fuck not? We're in the final fight of a Highlander film. And she then climbs up and watches as they then fall into what looks like the dance studio from Twilight and Dirty Dancing combined.
Yep.
They're just in this.
This is when I realised that this was The Gathering. Two folk.
No,
I was so disappointed.
So the Gathering is.
I get it. The Gathering is them all kind of coming
The Gathering is
together
what
over
we've been
time.
watching. What we've been watching.
Yeah. But I really felt like The Gathering
meet more
was like
people.
the event.
The
And I thought they
Gathering
were
should
gonna
have
show
been
up.
an all-out scrap.
An all-out free-for-all. I think that's what they do in other films in the TV show because obviously they've got a bigger budget.
What do you mean?
I was just
What
like,
do you mean a bigger budget? They hired them already. They had them in other scenes. Just don't kill them off in some bits and then have them all come together.
Yeah, I get
I'm
what
like,
you
you
mean.
killed Sean Connery 500 years ago, and that guy we knew for 20 seconds the day. Where are the rest of the immortals? Where's my
Sean
big
Connery killed
immortals
them.
everywhere?
The Kurgins killed them all. The novel goes into this.
Why? Why not in this
there
film?
can
I
only,
think-
where there can only
Like,
be one.
do you know,
and none of them have got any reds.
Or if we hadn't met, if we kept
from Connery.
hearing about the Kurgin, the Kurgin's the big bad.
He should be killing off every other one of them. Not just one of them.
But if the Kurgin was like the big bad, we should have kept him till the end. Or maybe seen glimpses of him, or he turns out to be someone that we didn't realise that was the Kurgin. But it's like, so we're going to have another fight with the only guy that you've been fighting throughout this whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted there to be more.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean.
Give me more gathering.
Yeah, more
gathering.
immortals.
More gathering.
More plot, wee boy.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think obviously with their budget, I think a big part of it went to
Filming things in other years.
Yes, I think that was the big selling
Insane.
point. Yeah, I love that though. They were like, yeah, fuck it.
It's
we're
Queen
gonna-
Mountain. They spaffed the whole budget
on
on
Sean
Sean
Connery,
Connery and Queen.
and the fucking costume department. But
I know for the Highlander though.
I know for him, nah, fuck you. You get Inspector
That
Gadget's
New York
bogging
apartment,
shit.
they had that rented out the whole
Well, they
thing.
bought that. That's a set they built. Anyway, so they have this big fight.
Hashtag cost them like $2,000.
Aye, we have this big fight. It's that's actually one of the better fight sequences in the film when they're in the studio, but mostly because it's clearly the two actors fighting. It's clearly actual sword fighters. But anyway, Connor's about to get killed. Brenda then shows up because this is like the kind of, hey, if he hadn't loved her, he'd have got beaten here. So she shows up, smacks the Kurgin in the back of the head. He then grabs her and goes to stab her. And then Connor blocks the blade. And then he turns to her and goes, what kept you? And then it cracks again. You're like, mate, why are you like this?
Again, you gave it more rizz than he gave it. He was kind of like, what kept you?
You're underselling it. It's bad, but there is a riz there.
No,
there is.
They move on from it so quickly,
They
though.
do.
He's like, hey, what kept you?
He has the weirdest riz ever. He's like not charismatic.
And it's so Tommy Wiseau.
It is. That's what I mean. It's brilliant. But anyway, he then does that. Him and the Kurgin do a final big swing at each other. Kurgin misses, gets his head cut off. And he stands there, you think he's about to fight again, but then the blood comes to his neck, the classic, the head falls off, and then all this glowing light comes out. And it all goes quiet for a second, zooms into Connor, where he delivers the famous line in the least compelling way possible. There can be only one. And then, that's even better than he does it. All the windows smash, boom, he's seized by the cosmic energies of fucking plot convenience, and we enter an Evil Dead like trippy sequence where like skulls are flashing. He's like, I get it, I understand everything now. And Brenda's like, man, what is happening? And it all goes quiet. And then we start to see scenes of Scotland again. We're like, oh fuck, Highlander, we're in the Highlands. Oh, brilliant, good, fucking funny that, eh? And this is when we learn about the prize. So the prize, after all of this, as relayed by Connor's monologues and Sean Connery speaking from the grave, I guess, says the prize is basically to become mortal and be able to have children. Because that was a big thing. Heather has always said, I always wanted to have your children, Connor, but I can't. But now he becomes mortal. But also, that's the prize. Also, a little caveat, you also get to read everyone's minds and you can help them solve their international conflicts, Connor. It's like,
Aye, but only for the next 30 years before you die. I've given you the key to world peace, and I've also made you be able to die for the first time.
Here's my thing.
So you can be immortal and keep going around killing mental folk for as long as you want. And then once you've defeated the last mental person, I am going to give you the key to world peace, and then you're going to die.
You've got 30 years to solve it and have a family.
Also, what about the guys who were
the old
older?
guys?
The guys who were older just expire. Also, what if the Kurgin had won the prize? Because fair enough, it makes sense for this guy's narrative journey.
Yeah.
He's always wanted to be able to die. He's wanted to be able to have children and live a natural life with the love of his
The
life.
Kurgin seems to want to live forever.
Can you imagine the Kurgin had won? And it was like, here's the prize. You can die now.
You can die, and you can solve like world hunger. He'd be like,
but he'd do the
what
opposite way.
fuck?
Yeah, he'd be raging, but he'd just do the other way, wouldn't he? He'd just cause total all-out war with everyone. Oh, he said this. The king, the president of the US said this about you.
Aye, I know. He could just do it.
The caveat is now you can just fucking shoot him.
Honestly,
Just get assassinated.
the Kurgin dying at the very end there is probably that is the best outcome he could have got. Because if he got the prize, he'd have been like,
So
this is a fucking joke.
This is a piss take. You get the power of every immortal you've ever slain. And the power is you can read thoughts, mediate, and die.
Yeah, but I think for an immortal, for Connor, it makes
for an immortal,
sense.
for someone who's been living for hundreds of years and seen everybody that they've like ever loved before dying, becoming immortal is amazing.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful, but
It's beautiful.
also-
However, reading minds and solving world peace, I've put you through hundreds of years of having to hunt these guys down and fucking kill them all, and it's been stressful, and like you just never have a comfortable moment because somebody's just gonna like show up with a fucking katana and try and chop your head off, and then you're like, that's all over now. But it's not, because now you have to solve fucking the world's issues. Like, what?
But the Highlander, they were immortal in the same way
Is
that
that
Edward
anyone,
Cullen
huh?
and the vampires are immortal in Twilight because they could fucking die. He could have turned to Heather in her deathbed and went, this has been lovely. Let's go out together. Let me just get the katana out. Would you mind taking my head off for me?
Absolutely.
Like, death is always... But the prize for not dying is dying? Like, what?
And solving world hunger.
Because you just said, like, for an
World
immortal,
peace.
like, death is such an amazing thing. And it's like, yes. And they all died. They all got the prize. And the prize is also death. What?
That is a good point. That is a very good point.
What?
You might suffer a less grisly death, but you also might just get crushed in a car crash. So
What if you died of the plague or something?
maybe it's worse than getting your head cut off.
Aye.
Also, like, he
Maybe
won't
a
know.
You're just rolling the dice, really, aren't
Maybe
you?
he's just like, wait, all these terrible hygiene habits that I've had that
So
didn't
they've
matter.
essentially-
Now I've got a fucking staph infection.
From
and-
your dirty fish tank.
Aye, from your butt. Oh my
you're-
god, he's gonna get like some sort of weird parasite in his. Oh.
You're immortal.
You need to eat. Wait, no, you guys need to sleep.
You're
Wait, no, you guys
immortal.
need to drink water.
and you,
Fuck.
and you don't want to be immortal, right? And then you realise you're like, oh fuck, I'm gonna have to stay immortal so this guy doesn't fuck up the entire world. You'd be like, oh fucking hell, man, come on, that's ridiculous.
Also, I kind of thought that the whole point of the whatever the genesis of the Immortals was like God's plan to find one person that was going to save the world or whatever, right? But like, that's it? They die in a few years? Is there more Immortals after that? Is there another
Well,
gathering?
there's several
on a minute.
sequels, so I guess there are.
Hold on a minute. He originated from the 1500s, right? We're now in the 80s. Is that when it's actually set?
1980s, yeah.
Right? How did he last hundreds of those years with the invention of the guillotine?
Aye, because they thought he was a witch.
He just
How
didn't-
did he? How?
He just didn't go to France.
You
He saw that shit and went, fuck that shit. Fuck that.
No, the guillotine. There was guillotines in Scotland. There was guillotines in fucking England.
There
and
was
stuff
a
like
guillotine.
that.
There was an
interesting.
axe.
Beheading was a thing
Yeah.
everywhere. Like, how did he avoid all that?
It's
Because that would have fucked him. He's not got super strength.
By becoming an antique stealer. He's the one that
But he
sold
couldn't
them.
have done that in the 1500s.
Could have.
When? How?
Don't know. We didn't
What
see it.
antiques?
Read the novel.
You not had time to collect them
Read
yet.
the novel.
Really? It would have taken a couple hundred years to become a
Read the
good.
novel.
This film makes no fucking sense. You've ruined it for me. I was like, oh, this is actually good name, but you're right. What the fuck? They could have died the entire time.
But that's
ridiculous.
That's what I'm saying. The guillotine was literally known as a method of execution because it was considered to be quite humane. Because you chop off a head, dead,
Yeah.
done. Instantaneous death, right? So the instantaneous death that the rest of the Immortals have had could genuinely be a much less painful death than whatever the fuck is about to happen to Highlander.
Well,
I don't know if this makes any fucking sense. It's been ruined for me.
sorry.
That's all right.
I think it's, look, you make the point, but I still think
What
it
if you
works in
want
kind of a
wings?
fairy tale. You can have wings now.
I know, but what if you don't want them?
wins?
What if you're like,
The
fuck
Kurgin
that?
didn't want wins.
Look, maybe the prize, maybe
Like wee Shrek babies kind of.
maybe the prize is different for everyone that wins.
But he's not got a prize then, because like Abby says, he could have died the entire time.
Yeah, but no, the whole point is he can get older with kids.
So he ages as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, he's going to age. He's going to have kids. He can be a,
I
he
want
can
to
be a
stay
human.
in my 24-year-old body.
Yeah, because you're
until
not immortal.
I'm 8 years
Because
old.
you're not immortal.
And then someone can cut my head off.
So the
look,
prize is
great.
metal woman's babies.
Yes.
That
Wee babies.
sucks.
Oh, Daddy, let me see your sword.
Oh, I agree.
IVF, man.
I agree.
IVF.
Don't marry her. I think it'd be like, haha, I can go. I'm going to go. Nah, see you.
Why? Surely the better prize would be you can make her immortal also.
Yeah.
Like Twilight.
No, it's not.
That's why
It's
Twilight's
not.
so much better than the Highlander.
Oh,
He was
it's
saying that he would
fucking
rather
not.
watch the Highlander.
leaving.
I'm not. I'm getting my phone. I don't know where the fuck my phone's gone.
He was saying that you'd rather watch Highlander than Twilight. Of
course.
And that's exactly why you should.
Highlander's a much better film than Twilight.
It isn't. The film is ended. The
film
Highlander's
is
done.
over.
Yay!
Yeah.
So he can grow old. He can have kids with this woman.
You've done well, Highlander. Ba-da-da-da. That's it. Ends. And then it's kind of magic place. Yay! So
Magic.
at the time, this film did not do well at the box office. Budget of 19 million,
Shocker.
made 12 million. Didn't get very good reviews at the time. It's I think it's got an average Metascore on IMDb of 24 out of 100, which is very low. However, its audience score is 7.0 out of 10. So obviously it found an audience because contemporary reviews at the time said things like, so you got, this one's really funny, Gene Siskel from Ebert and Siskel, all that, very famous reviewer, he said, about halfway through the violent fantasy adventure Highlander, one character talks about how it was the custom during ancient times to throw babies into a pit of hungry dogs. Well, there were more than a few times during this hyper-violent film which I felt as if I were a baby being thrown to a dog of a movie. Which I think is very, very funny. And then top one, 4 out of 10 from Variety, they said, Ross Macaulay can't quite seem to decide from one scene to the next whether he's making a sci-fi, thriller, horror, music video, or romance, and the result is a nightmare.
That's so fucking on
that's
point,
such
man.
a funny. Oh, my phone's upside down. That maybe no, it's not. My phone's just not working. Okay, so do we agree? Do you guys agree with that? Those kind of
100%.
sentiments,
That's
right?
very, very on point.
So here's some of the reassessments that came in later years. One of them says people hate Highlander because it's cheesy, bombastic, and absurd, and people love it for the same reasons. I think that's I think this one might be quite a Marmite one because it is ridiculous. I think it's kind of amazing, but it is still shit.
Yeah.
But I kind of love it for that. And then there's various things I can point to and have a lot of fun with it. And also genuinely some touching moments. Aye.
Out of 10?
There's this last one I want to get. Someone called it the greatest action film ever made, which, I don't agree with that. Someone called, it's an interesting notion made silly and boring, but acknowledge that Connery at least shows some style. And then someone else said, Tom Hutchinson of Radio Times awarded it 3 stars out of 5, calling it so confused as to be hilariously watchable, which I kind of agree with as well.
Yes.
But then this one also says, some great sword lunging duels, the best of which is set in a Madison Square Garden garage. That is not the best sword fight in this film.
It's not even a good sword fight in the world.
It's the whole reason I wanted you to watch this, for Flippy McGee going down the aisle.
It's fucking shocking. So, my
Right,
opinion
scores.
of the film
Yeah, please.
is that I'm conflicted on it. Very, very similarly to how I felt about The Room.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I don't really know what to rate this, because I enjoyed watching it, despite my, arguing against certain plot points and stuff like that. I thought it was fucking hilarious. It was really funny, and I enjoyed the kind of aspects of it, like the kind of sci-fi, Scottish aspects, the romance, the prize before Abby spoiled it, of like the kind of immortality thing being like the prize
It's kind of
for
like a fairy
immortality.
tale. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just fucking shite. It feels like, I don't know. It does read like somebody's like short film that they decided to
totally.
make in uni, but also not made it a film, but made it a B movie specifically. It's so bad, and it would have so much more to it for me if it wasn't for the fact that the actor who plays Highlander has just the least amount of riz and the most amount of freak I've ever seen in a man in my entire life.
It's weird.
Unnerving.
To me, it kind of works though, because he's so fucking out of place that he's like very. If you had to go, which one of these guys is an immortal? I'd be like, oh, it's
No,
the fucking.
him.
I'd say it's the freak.
No,
But he doesn't even look like a freak. Kurgin looks like a freak.
He doesn't look like a freak. We just established that he looks very
Yeah.
strange.
He's
Not
got a freakish
his-
quality, but he doesn't look like a freak.
You're being a bit inconsistent with your messaging here.
no, I just think that he's just like got a natural kind of unusual look about him.
Yeah.
I think it's because of his gigantic forehead and the fact that he never smiles in it, and that he's not very good at acting. But he just has no riz, and you're meant to root for him, and you don't. You're like, I just feel that this guy is like one step away from a crime. And he kind of was.
He's
'cause
4 steps into a crime. He's not 1 step away. He's about 40,000 paces deep into one.
So with that, I give it a 4 out of 10.
Yeah, I think. Do you know what's funny? You seem to have enjoyed it a lot more than me, but I'm just too generous in my scoring. I was gonna give it like a 4 or a 5, but if you who have enjoyed it have given it a 4,
But he's rated in different ways.
we do rate it in different ways. I probably would also give it a 4. Similarly to you, I feel like I can deal with him being a bad actor, but my problem is he's a wet blanket as a warrior. He's a wet blanket as a protagonist. He's a wet blanket as an immortal. He's a wet blanket as a love interest. Like,
But isn't that really funny?
And I can't hear him.
but I don't want. I want to find the funny historical scenes funny. I want to find the funny dialogue funny. But I want my hunks to be hunks. Is that too much to ask?
Yeah, I want my hunks to be hunks. I agree.
I agree. Some people think he's
If he was, it's not about being hot. It's about just having a quality.
That's what I mean by.
He doesn't have a
I
quality.
think some people like it. There's some reviews in that they're like, "Oh, he's great." Genuinely unnerving when I read those ones. It's like, yeah, he does really well with the material and he really conveys the set. And you're like, does he?
What
Like,
film did you
I
watch?
love his performance
Are you-
because it's shocking.
Have you
don't try
all
and
done
tell-
an Abbey and watched the wrong Highlander film and you're like, hi, he was class. He wasn't unnerving at all.
Well,
Just running with it.
say this. The film clearly had a profound impact on me because last night I dreamt for the whole night about eating Highlander crisps.
Amazing.
Remember Highlander crisps?
Yeah.
I'm like,
I
that
still eat
has
them.
to come out of the fact. Do you still get Highlander crisps?
Oh no, they're McCoy's now. I think those
I
are
miss
these.
Highlander crisps, and this film
Those are the
clearly
salt
had-
packet ones. You put to be salt.
That's Salt and Shake.
Oh, they were called Highlander. Oh, anyway, we're getting into
Highlander
crisp
crisps
discussion
were
now.
amazing, and I dreamt about eating many, many bags of Highlander crisps last night, and I think that is the lasting impact that this film has had on me.
So, the film obviously didn't do well with critics at the time. Got a bit of a cult following. Kind of got cemented in popular culture because of the Queen songs, and also There Can Be Only One gets referenced in loads of things. Blah blah blah. There's a lot of Highlander references that I didn't get in like loads of stuff until later. So clearly it had a bit of an impact. So coming into it with that knowledge, I was like, what the fuck? And look, hands up, I really like it. It is ridiculous. It is a bit bad, as we've said, but like. Sean Connery's great. The Kurgin is a fantastic villain. Some of it's emotional. There's some great sequences. I love. Again, I would probably cut 15 minutes out. Make it a tight hour and a half. And it is a bit bloated. It is a bit silly. But I think there's just this really earnest spirit of like they don't make films like this, and maybe they shouldn't always make films like this. But for it existing for what it is, there's something like there's not a lot of films like it, and. I don't know. I think as well, you obviously know my opinions on The Room. I love The Room. It's a 1 out of 10 film that's so bad that it became a 10 out of 10 to me. Highlander's not quite there. It's not quite bad enough to be as bad as The Room in my opinion, and it's not quite good enough or funny enough to be as good as that. But it has its own unique little place. It does its own thing. I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. I would probably go alongside the audience score. I get it. I get why people really like it. I don't think it's the best of the 80s films that we've done. I think Dirty Dancing is a better film. There you go. I'll give you that. Obviously. It's actually a film. No, Highlander is a film. It's just, as a guy growing up writing wee silly stories and going and getting old and going, I would never make that into something now or never write that now. This does generally feel like a wee boy grew up, wrote a silly story, sold it, and then people just went, fuck it, let's just make something with that. And I think there's something really lovely about that.
Okay,
Great.
I get
So,
who are we picking for Rogues Gallery?
Kurgin.
I think the wee mental lassie that was screaming.
She was pretty good. The wee mental lassie is pretty good. She'd be my second choice. I just think that Kurgin overdoes it as a villain, and that works. But honestly, her going from "I love you, Connor, you're dying" to "Burn the bastard, burn him." It's probably
And then not even exile. I want blood.
it's probably
we could exile him though. No. He dies today. And I want to watch.
Yeah, I would. Put her in. She's probably more in line with the other.
She also just looked
rogues.
fucking mental as well. Compared to
She was
everybody else.
nuts.
She was loving it. She was having to be held back by other like folk in the like
in the clan.
in the
know.
McLeod clan
It's like, man, that's your man.
she was being too much during
Yeah,
the
yeah,
punishment.
we're
for
doing it.
McLeod.
When the angry mob that's on your side is holding you
And
back,
being like,
you're
chill
taking
out.
it too far.
It's like, yeah, we're dealing with them. Jesus Christ, like, we need to set a fire. We can't just burn them right away. But, aye. So,
Just before we finish, I want a quick fire question and just answer off the top of your head. Forget Queen exists.
Okay.
Who would you have score this film all with their music instead of Queen?
another
My
band.
Chemical Romance.
Oh, that would be fucking sick.
I know. Right?
I thought Guns N' Roses.
Yes, Guns N' Roses would be good.
See, I was thinking too much of the time.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of an 80s band.
I know.
Who did you
Famous
say?
last words.
Yeah,
Famous
that'd
last
be
words
good.
in this would be so good.
So would Desolation
I'm
Row
not afraid to keep on living.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to walk this world alone.
Should we do a recut
with
of
MCR
Highlander
songs.
with MCR songs?
MCR songs
For
would
our
be good.
viewing
But also
pleasure.
MCR obviously were influenced by Queen, so that kind of makes a lot of sense.
There you go.
Love that.
Almost dropped my stuff.
Quick fire.
Quick
Off the top
fire.
of your head.
I'm trying to think of another big 80s band.
Doesn't have to be 80s.
No, but-
any band. You're re-editing
Weezer.
Highlander.
I'd probably agree with you. Guns N' Roses.
Roses,
Guns N'
okay,
Roses would be
cool.
really good for that.
Cool.
It's the most 80s band I can think, and it makes sense for that film.
Sure.
But yes, so next
Next week, we are going to see Barbie.
But this will probably be released before this one comes out, so
Sorry
we've already
about
seen
all of
Barbie.
that. Yeah,
We've already seen Barbie.
we've already seen Barbie.
It was class. Was it class?
We fucked it.
Find out on the Sorry I Don't podcast.
See you
Found
later.
out.
We find out.
Bye.
Oh, we will. Bye.